Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Douluo, I Level Up Alone. Chapter 1 Two Kings. In front of the branch of the Wuhan Hall in Notting City, hundreds of children around the age of 6 gathered here, waiting for the Wuhan to awaken. Some of these children are dressed in luxurious clothes and come from a good background, some are dressed in cheap clothes, and it is obvious that their families are not wealthy. Despite their different origins, every child's face is filled with excitement and anticipation, because this is the moment that determines their future. However, fate always likes to play tricks on people. Not everyone is qualified to become a soul master, and most people awaken useless martial souls. I hope it's not a waste of spirit. I'm not Tang San. Cheng Xiao took a deep breath and walked into the main hall under the leadership of the deacon of the spirit hall. Cheng Xiao is very aware of the rules of this continent, and there is no possibility of a dead martial spirit to turn around. After watching Douluo in his previous life, he had many complaints. He can be called a model of people's fate has long been doomed. Yu Xiaoging's statement that there is no useless martial spirit, only useless soul masters, is simply fart. If there is no useless martial spirit, doesn't it mean that he himself is a useless person? Tang San's blue-silver herb was actually the blue-silver emperor, or twin martial spirits. Yu Xiaoging used his genius to prove that you can become the strongest soul master even if you waste a martial spirit. Isn't it a joke? Sickle, weapon spirit. Azabu, weapon spirit. Blue-silver grass. Rope, weapon soul. Gray wolf, beast martial spirit. In the cold voices of the deacons, the fate of each child was pronounced. Most of them were useless martial souls. Countless children walked out of the hall sobbing, but the deacons did not offer any words of comfort. They saw many such things every year. Already numb. Finally, it was Cheng Xiao's turn. Faced with the fork in fate, even though he had lived 2 lives, Cheng Xiao was still nervous. Entering the center of the formation, under the control of the deacon, Cheng Xiao felt some kind of power awakening in his body. However, when Cheng Xiao opened his hands, he found that there was nothing in his hands. Instead, the mysterious power was rushing toward his eyes. Mutated martial spirit. That's interesting. The deacon saw Cheng Xiao's eyes all turned into jet black, and said with some surprise, "Test the soul power." The deacon is somewhat hopeful. If his innate soul power is not weak and he has a mutated martial soul, he might be selected to enter the martial soul city. Level 1. But the next moment, the deacon was disappointed. Level 1 innate soul power may be difficult even for great soul masters, which is a pity. Next one. The deacon directly called the next one. Cheng Xiao was pushed out of the formation by the excited children behind him, and stood in the center of the formation instead of Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao was stunned for a while. Others just thought he couldn't bear the blow and ignored him. But no one knows that at this moment, Cheng Xiao's heart is like a turbulent wave, which is difficult to calm down. There are actually 2 martial spirits in his consciousness. Moreover, these 2 spirits, whom he was very familiar with, turned out to be the Shadow King in I Level Up Alone, Aspen, and the King of Destruction, Dragon Emperor Antilus. However, there seems to be something wrong with his 2 martial arts. In his body, the 2 martial arts are extremely repulsive. The mysterious shadow turns into a ball, sealing the violent light dragon martial spirit. And the terrifying giant dragon charged crazily in the shadow space, erupting with a shocking roar. Every roar sent ripples out of the shadow ball of light, making Cheng Xiao terrified. Cheng Xiao has no doubt that if he is allowed to break the shadow blockade, the destructive force can directly tear him apart. This is not a power he can control now. Fortunately, the Shadow King was able to subdue it and prevent Cheng Xiao from being backlashed by his own martial spirit. However, the conflict between the 2 martial spirits resulted in him being able to use only a small part of the power of the shadows. To a certain extent, it was considered a malignant mutation of the martial spirits, which also resulted in his insufficient innate soul power. But if you find a way to resolve the conflict between the 2 martial spirits and make your body strong enough to withstand the power of destruction, you can completely liberate the Shadow King and the Destruction King. The Shadow King turns out to be the Shadow King. Doesn't that mean I can build a shadow army in the future? The more happily Tang San fights, the bigger his army will be. Thinking of this, Cheng Xiao raised his head and walked out of Wuhan Hall with his head high, his mood not at all depressed, and his eyes flashing with excitement. Seeing him so refreshed, uninformed people thought he had awakened some extraordinary martial spirit. However, upon asking, they found out that it was actually a mutated martial spirit with only the first level of innate soul power, and a burst of ridicule broke out. Ha 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 ha, it turns out he only has one level of soul power. Looking at his appearance, I thought he was innately full of soul power. Cheng Xiao didn't know about the taunts from the rear, and even if he knew, he wouldn't take it to heart. 100 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, 100 squats and 10 kilometers of running. Cheng Xiao made a training plan for himself that day. Although he didn't have Cheng Xiaoyu's upgrade system, he was still quite strict with himself. Only by making his body strong without compromising could he complete the liberation of his twin martial souls faster. Cheng Xiao is still a child, and this level of training is still very difficult for him. In the end, he almost slowly moved to the finish line, and it was only at sunset that he could complete the training plan. The next day he was so painful that he couldn't even stand up. Without a healing soul master, it would be difficult for him to persist in high-intensity training for a long time. I still have to find a good college. Cheng Xiao sighed. Fortunately, I can enroll in the Junior Soul Master Academy in a few days. Dragging his painful body to his feet, Cheng Xiao started training other muscle groups again. A few days later, Cheng Xiao grinned and took trembling steps to register at the Junior Soul Master Academy. There is only one Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City. It is impossible for Cheng Xiao to study in other city colleges. Naturally, he can only enroll in Notting Junior Soul Master Academy. What are you doing? As soon as he arrived at Notting Soul Master Academy and before he entered the door, the guard spotted Cheng Xiao and scolded him with a frown. I'm here to sign up. This is my martial arts certificate. Cheng Xiao handed over the certificate in his hand. Mutated martial soul, black eyes. Soul power level 1. Hey, do you still want to become a soul master? The guard took the certificate, scoffed after reading it, and couldn't help but curse. But he also knew that people paid money to go to school, not those hard-working work-study students. Although he looked down on the other party, he would not do anything to stop him. After returning the certificate to Cheng Xiao, the guard opened the door, waved his hand impatiently and said, "Go in." Cheng Xiao glanced at the guard indifferently, but he didn't have any other thoughts. It was human nature to underestimate others and praise others. He was not Tang San, and he had a way to kill him at every turn. Without giving up any rhetoric about 30 years of Hedong, Cheng Xiao walked into the college and packed the certificates into his backpack as he walked. Hiss! Suddenly, a dark shadow blocked the sun, and a tall man suddenly appeared in front of Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao couldn't dodge and bumped directly into the opponent. As a result, due to the intense training these days, he couldn't hold on for a while, lost his balance, and sat on the ground. Are you okay? The tall man stretched out his hand. Oh, it's okay, thank you teacher. Cheng Xiao bared his teeth and stood up with the help of the man. Teacher, I am not a teacher in the academy. There is only one teacher in your life, and you can only call me one if you truly worship me as your teacher. The man shook his head. Others call me master, so you should also call me master. Cheng Xiao was stunned. Is this person Yu Xiaogang? It is completely different from anime and animation images. Sure enough, you can't trust the image entirely. After all, they are all 3D simulations, so the difference is still huge. You're here to register, right? I'll take you. Yu Xiaogang picked up the certificate that Cheng Xiao had dropped on the ground, opened it and saw that the words that were on his lips calmly changed his words. The registration office is here over there, don't go wrong. With that said, he stuffed Cheng Xiao's certificate into his backpack, patted the dust in the backpack, and returned it to Cheng Xiao calmly, without blushing or beating. Can it still be like this? Cheng Xiao was shocked. He had just heard the word, take you. He should have said, I will take you there, right? Right. Since Yu Xiaogang separated from Flanders and Luerlong, he came to the Small Soul Master Academy in Notting City to continue his theoretical research after being invited by others. He occasionally solved students' doubts, which was quite stable. But this kind of life is not what he wants. Once the wise corner of the Golden Triangle, how can he be content with being ordinary? He thought of many ways to prove himself, but without exception, they all failed in the end. Later, he figured out that if he couldn't change his destiny, he would use his disciples to prove his theory and let his theory shine in this continent. Only in this way can he give those who look down on him a loud slap and tell those guys that they are the stupid pigs. He is a true master, an invincible master of theory. However, finding a satisfactory disciple is not that easy. Over the years, he has met some geniuses, but those geniuses have high self-esteem and good family conditions, and they look down on him, a so-called theoretical master. And he looked down on those students with poor talent. There was no hope of helping him become famous with that kind of talent. It's the beginning of school again. I hope I can meet some good students this year. Yu Xiaoging sat on a bench not far from the gate and pretended to flip through a book, looking at the gate from time to time. This was a fork in the road after entering the door. If he didn't search carefully, it would be difficult to detect it, but he could clearly see the situation on the other side of the door. Another child came, and he came alone, which was great. Yu Xiaoging was eager to try, pretending to be a little tired, pinched his eyebrows, closed the book, stood up and moved his body, and then pretended to take a walk towards the door. Hiss! Yu Xiaoging stopped in front of the child, but he didn't expect that the child was so weak and fell to the ground with just a bump. But just in time, the martial arts certificate fell out. Yu Xiaoging's eyes fell on the certificate on the ground. Are you okay? Yu Xiaoging pulled the child up, then squatted down to pick up the martial arts certificate. Oh, it's okay, thank you teacher. Teacher, I am not a teacher in the academy. There is only one teacher in your life, and you can only call me a teacher if you truly worship me as your teacher. Others call me master, so you should also call me master. Are you here to sign up? I'll take you. Yu Xiaoging picked up the certificate, opened it seemingly casually, and took the opportunity to peek at the information on it. Mutated martial spirit, black eyes, soul power, level 1. Close black lens bracket. Yu Xiaoging was immediately disappointed and lost interest in the child in front of him. This talent was not much better than his own. Back then, he also had a mutated martial soul with half-level soul power, and suffered humiliation and ridicule. With this kid's talent, it would be difficult for him to become a great soul master, let alone a soul master. At first, with the support of his family and Bibi Dong's secret subsidies, he barely reached level 29. This kid looks like an ordinary person with no resources or talent. He will only be a 10-level soul master in this life. He will never become a great master. He is not worthy of being his disciple. Many thoughts flashed through his mind like electricity, and he changed his words when he spoke. Yu Xiaoging said, "The registration office is over there, don't go wrong." With that said, he returned the backpack to Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao was confused by Yu Xiaoging's operation, and walked to the registration office in a daze. He kept thinking about Yu Xiaoging's reaction in his mind, and he always felt that something was wrong. That's not right, something feels wrong. Cheng Xiao turned around and said, "Go back and take a look." Not far away, Cheng Xiao saw Yu Xiaoging sitting on a bench reading a book from a distance. Am I really too sensitive? Seeing Yu Xiaoging's concentration, Cheng Xiao rubbed his chin. Just when he was about to leave, Yu Xiaoging suddenly raised his head and glanced at the door with a vague look in his eyes, then looked back and concentrated on reading again. Cheng Xiao caught this abnormality. He seems to be waiting for someone. Waiting for Tang San. That shouldn't be the case. According to the original work, this guy shouldn't know that Tang Hao is living here in seclusion, right? Cheng Xiao decided to observe again, and he also found a bench and sat down, imitating Yu Xiaoging's casual glance, but not staring at it, lest the other party notice anything. Not long after, he found Yu Xiaoging getting up and walking towards the door, chatting with a student who had just come to register, and took him to the registration office. After a while, Yu Xiaoging returned to the original bench, waiting for the next student to come. After going back and forth several times, Cheng Xiao finally figured out the trick. It seemed like this guy would strike up a conversation with every student, find an excuse to check the martial arts certificate, and then take it to the registration office. What is he trying to do? Cheng Xiao felt a little ridiculous. While Cheng Xiao was thinking, the sound of an argument came from outside the gate. Yu Xiaoging was alerted and walked towards the gate. Cheng Xiao also looked for his voice and went out. When he saw the person outside the door, a flash of light pierced the sky like thunder and exploded in his mind. One word: absolute. Chang Xiao laughed, smiled and shook his head, only to clap his hands to Yu Xiaogang. This guy is looking for a disciple. He just said, how could there be such a coincidence in the world? As soon as Tang San entered the school, he would meet a professional theoretical sect to rescue him. It turned out that someone was just waiting for something to happen. This guy probably used his identity to check the students' martial arts certificates, and then judge whether they were worthy of training. He used his considerable knowledge to talk and create a tall, theoretical master image, laying the foundation for accepting disciples in the future. I guess the words are all based on the same template. Make a targeted evaluation of the students' martial arts, then quote classics, take the opportunity to propose the 10 core competitiveness of their own martial arts, show their own style, and then slightly mention the direction of absorbing the soul rings in the future, arouse curiosity, if not, point out your intention to accept disciples. Finally, I am waiting for the relationship to deepen in the future, and officially become a master and apprentice. Routine. It's all a routine. However, only 3 twin martial souls appeared in 100 years, so this guy can meet 2 twin martial souls. Isn't this luck a bit unnatural? If I hadn't read the original work, I would have even thought that this guy is the son of destiny. Quote, how can a majestic saint of the spirit hall fall in love with a loser? Are you out of your mind? And Tang San, who has lived in 2 lives, can be fooled into kneeling down and becoming his disciple with just a few words, without even the slightest hesitation. There is no protagonist. I don't even believe in the halo. Oh, no, it should be 3 if I include myself. Chang Xiao stood up and walked towards the registration office. Now that he had clarified the doubts in his heart, there was no need to stay any longer. He was not interested in having too much interaction with Tang San. A person who was easily murderous would still leave. It's better to stay far away. All coincidences are planned for a long time. Suddenly thinking of God Shira peeking at the screen in the sky, Chang Xiao suddenly had a deeper understanding of this sentence. Maybe that rabbit was sent by him too. After registering, Chang Xiao received bedding and other daily necessities and came to his dormitory. Although Nordine Junior Soul Master Academy is not divided into levels, all kinds of benefits emphasize the word level. The dormitory for noble students is a 2-person deluxe room, and everything is quite luxurious. Civilians have dormitories for 8 people and can receive bedding and daily necessities. Working study students are required to bring their own bedding. After making the bed, everyone in the dormitory hadn't arrived yet, so Cheng went out to relieve himself. It was still a death-defying amount of exercise, and he had no intention of discounting it. Based on past life experience, as long as you make a slight discount, you will become more and more relaxed in the future. From relaxing, to resting for 2 days, to resting for a few more days, then not wanting to move much, and finally giving up completely. Once your thoughts slip, you can never go back to the past. Therefore, Cheng Xiao will never make excuses to relax. Worrying. Several consecutive days of overloaded exercise had greatly squeezed his potential. He only felt that this time he was much more tired than the previous few days. Every step he took was extremely difficult, and his lungs were whirring like bellows. Ring. The pain that spread throughout his body even made Cheng Xiaosheng have an idea. Is it possible to find a better exercise method that can avoid the pain of this kind of exercise? But the next moment, Cheng Xiao gave up the idea. There are no shortcuts, don't think about shortcuts. My advantage is the 2 kings. As long as I can liberate them, my cultivation speed will be far faster than others. How fast could Tang San go if he had the mysterious heaven skill? During the days of Shrek's training, the 7 monsters upgraded at almost the same speed, and the gap between Tang San's upgrade speed and the other 7 monsters was not wide at all. Before entering school, Dai Mubai was 37, Oscar was 29, Tang San was 29, Ning Rongrong was 26, Xiao Wu was 29, Ma Hongjun was 27, and Zhu Zuqing was 27. When they graduated, Dai Mubai was 45, Oscar was 42, Tang San was 43, Ning Rongrong was 42, Xiao Wu was 40, Ma Hongjun was 42, and Zhu Zuqing was 42. Among them, Tang San also had an improvement brought by the 8 spider spears. Under the same training intensity, the additional improvement brought by Xuantiankong is almost negligible. No matter how you look at it, Xuantiankong is not an acceleration artifact. If Chang Xiao had the energy to plan some mysterious heavenly skill, it would be more practical to find a way to obtain a fairy grass. After hypnotizing himself and strengthening his confidence, Chang Xiao finally squeezed out the last bit of strength and finally completed today's exercise task. At the moment of completion, he fell to the ground with his mind relaxed. "What's wrong with you? Why are you lying on the ground?" A pleasant voice rang in my ears. Quote. Chang Xiao wanted to raise his head to see the person clearly, but he could only see a pair of delicate feet. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. At this time, his mouth was dry, his vision was blurry, and he just wanted to sleep. "My name is Xiao Wu, Dancing Wu, what's your name?" "Xiao Wu." Chang Xiao was shocked. "Holy shit. This is that 100,000-year soul ring." "Ah, no, it's a soul beast." Chang Xiao reluctantly turned over and finally saw Xiao Wu's appearance clearly. She had a soft and waxy face with skin that could be broken by a blow. Her long black hair was combed into a scorpion braid and hung down over her hips. Her curious eyes were as moist as clear springs. She did look a bit cute. But I like pure lust, and I don't like those who take the cute route. My mind was in a mess, and at this moment, such an unexpected idea came up. He must be tired and confused. Chang Xiao thought. "Are you okay? Do you want me to take you to the infirmary?" Cough. Chang Xiao opened his mouth to refuse, but he didn't expect that his throat was so dry and hoarse that it was difficult to make a sound. The hoarse voice made his throat hurt, and he coughed horribly after saying only one word. "Well, okay." Xiao Wu pondered for a moment, then picked up Chang Xiao on her back and started talking to herself. "What's your name?" "I'm a work-study student here." Listening to Xiao Wu's crisp voice, Chang Xiao wanted to push away, but his arms were weak and he had no choice but to give up. "It's hard for me to do this. I covet your 100,000-year soul ring. Don't do this." Xiao Wu saw people along the way and asked about the location of the infirmary. Chang Xiao leaned on Xiao Wu's shoulder, and the faint fragrance penetrated into the nose, sweet and refreshing. "Not to mention, this soul ring smells delicious. It's difficult. Doctor, this classmate fainted on the playground. Can you help him treat him?" "Well, let me take a look." The doctor in the infirmary took a look at Chang Xiao's condition and said, "It's okay, he's overexercised. Wait a minute and I'll treat him." After that, the doctor used his martial spirit. He was a healing soul master. Although his level was not high and he only had one soul skill, it was enough to cure Chang Xiao's current condition. A ray of light covered Chang Xiao's body, and Chang Xiao's fatigue was suddenly restored by 60%. His throat was no longer dry, and his body became stronger. He even had some illusion that he could run another 10 kilometers. "Okay, go back and rest more, you'll be fine in 2 days." "Thank you." The two of them thanked each other and left the infirmary. "Thank you, my name is Chang Xiao." Chang Xiao thanked him. "It's okay, we are all classmates." Hee. Xiao Wu didn't care. "By the way, you just said you were a work-study student. Have you signed up?" "Not yet. You didn't even bring a bedding." "Ah, do you want to bring it?" "I don't know. Work-study students are not provided with bedding, so they have to bring it themselves." Chang Xiao touched the copper soul coins in his pocket, which was still abundant, and said, "Why don't I take you to buy them, and I'll repay you by sending me to the infirmary." Chang Xiao would never admit that he did this just to prevent Rabbit from sleeping with Tang San. He simply said thanks. "Well, it's very simple." Chang Xiao is convinced. Okay. Xiao Wu seemed to have no intentions and nodded happily. The two of them changed direction and walked towards the sales office. After purchasing bedding and some daily necessities, they went to the work-study student dormitory with Xiao Wu. Chang Xiao sent Xiao Wu back to the dormitory. At this time, Tang San seemed to have been called over by the master and was not in the dormitory. After hearing Kashi's rules, Xiao Wu knocked everyone down, while Chang Xiao watched the battle from the side, and by the way asked the first defeated boy about Tang San's bed. While Xiao Wu was beating up everyone, Chang Xiao quietly chose Xiao Wu's bed as the farthest one from Tang San and made the bed, thus creating a fait accompli. As for whether they would switch back in the future, whatever he was thinking, he was just doing it casually. He didn't care whether it had any effect. The purpose of causing trouble for others was to make himself happy. "Okay, now that you're done fighting, I'll go back first." See you tomorrow. That's great, Xiao Cheng. See you tomorrow, Xiao Cheng. Xiao Wu threw herself on the bed made by Cheng Xiao, rolling around happily holding the pillow. After leaving Kashi dormitory, Cheng Xiao looked at the sky and walked towards his dormitory. It's quite fragrant. Recalling the fragrant wind, Cheng Xiao muttered, "Oh, I don't like rabbits very much. I prefer kittens or little foxes. It's really difficult." A sneeze. Suddenly, Cheng Xiao sneezed. He rubbed his nose and realized how dirty he was, and cursed secretly, "You are mean." After scolding him, he felt redeemed and walked towards the dormitory easily. Well, it's not impossible for Rabbit to accept it. The playground of Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy. A thin figure was running staggeringly on the playground. His speed was gradually decreasing. It was obvious that his physical strength could not keep up, but he was still persisting. Next to the playground, the pretty little girl was holding her chin, looking at the figure boredly, not understanding why this guy was working so hard. She took off her shoes, stepped on the bamboo broom with her white feet, and pushed over. Turn it over, and the cardamom-like crystal toes playfully hook, relax, hook, relax. On the other side, an ordinary-looking boy was holding a bamboo broom and cleaning the playground honestly. He did not complain about the girl's laziness. Instead, he happily took on the girl's share. They have been enrolled for 2 months. In the past 2 months, Cheng Xiao has not relaxed. He insists on exercising every day. He exercises himself to exhaustion almost every day and then goes to the infirmary for treatment. The doctor is almost annoying him to death, and he is picking apart his hair every day. However, the doctor's treatment skills could only restore 60% and could not completely restore his condition. Therefore, the doctor also tried to persuade him, but Cheng Xiao still went his own way and did not listen to the advice. Until one day, the doctor couldn't bear it anymore and scolded, "You can't exercise like this. If you don't get enough rest, sooner or later you will be exhausted. You are overdrawing your potential. Have you ever thought about the future?" However, Cheng Xiao silenced the doctor with just one sentence. "If I can't become stronger, will there be a future? With my innate soul power, I am only a soul master at best. What potential can I overdraw?" In the end, the doctor had no choice but to leave it to him. But this kind of extreme exercise is not without effect. Cheng Xiao's body is visibly stronger. Now that he has finished the exercise, he is no longer as exhausted and unable to move as before. Cheng Xiao stopped, walked slowly for more than 10 meters, adjusted his breathing rhythm, and ended today's long-distance run. After completing a series of training on arm strength, wrist strength, abdominal muscles, legs, lower back and endurance, Cheng Xiao did not rest immediately but started practicing Tai Chi. In the previous life, the university physical education examination included this martial arts routine into the examination subjects, but they were all the most basic tricks. The Tai Chi training was soft and just a show-off. Therefore, he didn't take it to heart. As long as he could cope with the exam, could he really rely on this soft showpiece to beat people? Now he had to think more about it. After all, he didn't believe in internal power at the beginning. But this life is different. With soul power, is it possible to integrate soul power into martial arts routines and really achieve the effect of using softness to overcome strength? Become a self-created soul skill. The possibility is a bit slim, but it's not hopeless. It's a pity that Cheng Xiao didn't practice well in his previous life, and now every move and style is out of shape when he practices it, let alone any self-created soul skills. Cheng Xiao did not give up and continued to type more than 10 or 20 times every day. After 2 months, although there were no miracles, his appearance became more and more positive. Gradually, Cheng Xiao seemed to have caught a certain feeling, and the out-of-shape Tai Chi gradually corrected, creating a wonderful sense of beauty. When the Tai Chi style was gradually revised, Cheng Xiao discovered that Tai Chi could relieve a certain amount of fatigue. After each practice, 2 sets of Tai Chi could recover blood by almost 20%, relieving fatigue after a full workout, of stiffness and fatigue. This discovery made Cheng Xiao overjoyed. He practiced 2 sets of Tai Chi every day, and then went to the infirmary to receive some spiritual treatment. Wouldn't it be possible to restore 80% of his physical strength? Go back and have a good night's sleep, and be active the next day, and you can continue to exercise. Tisk, it is indeed the #1 punch for keeping healthy. Although he has not developed his own soul skills, Cheng Xiao is still satisfied with the effects of Tai Chi. At the same time, he is secretly glad that he did not fail the physical education exam in his previous life. After finishing Tai Chi, Cheng Xiao stopped his fist and let out the dirty air. Xiao Cheng, here, come here. Seeing Cheng Xiao finishing his exercise, Xiao Wu hurriedly waved. Cheng Xiao came over and Xiao Wu handed over the water glass. At this time, Tang San also came over and sat next to Xiao Wu. Cheng Xiao rinsed his mouth with water, then spit out most of it, leaving only a small mouth to put into his abdomen, and poured the remaining water on his head to cool down. He still knows common sense that he should not drink a lot of water immediately after strenuous exercise. Xiao Cheng, why are you working so hard? Xiao Wu wrinkled her delicate nose. Are you afraid that someone will bully you? I am now the boss of the college. If anyone dares to bully you, I will let the mistress beat him. Tang San. Hey. Cheng Xiao glanced at Tang San. Tang San smiled politely. In the past 2 months, Cheng Xiao and Tang San have gotten to know each other. Because of Xiao Wu's relationship, the two of them can be considered close friends. However, their souls are both adults. Only they know what is going on in their hearts. It won't be simple anyway. That familiar smell, when Tang San met for the first time, he vaguely felt that they were the same kind, they didn't talk like children, and they were not a simple person. Tang San guessed that this guy probably had a very dark heart, so he had to be careful. No matter how hard he thought about it, he would never have thought that Cheng Xiao was also a time traveler. There's no special reason for exercising. I just want to get stronger. Cheng Xiao shrugged. You see, my results have been remarkable in the past 2 months, and my soul power has reached level 3. Except for Tang San and Xiao Wu, compared to others, their speed was already very fast. The graduation standard for the Junior Soul Master Academy is to reach level 10 within 6 years and become a Soul Master. It can be seen that some people are much slower than him, and not everyone is willing to torture themselves to death. My body has also become stronger. Cheng Xiao lifted up his shirt, revealing his vaguely prominent abdominal muscles. Although they were only slightly outlined, his six-pack had begun to take shape. Go away, you are sweating every time you work out and you stink. Xiao Wu pretended to be disgusted and kicked Cheng Xiao softly on the belly to keep him away from her. But she didn't dislike the sticky sweat on her white feet, and her movements were quite gentle. She said it was kicking, but in fact it was just a slight push away. It was obvious that she didn't really dislike it. Tang San raised his eyelids, his expression as usual, as if he didn't care. Cheng Xiao smiled, wondering if he was being labeled as someone who had a way to die. I don't think so. It's only been 2 months, and he has, unintentionally, made some small obstacles. The relationship shouldn't be progressing that fast. At this moment, Xiao Wu's balance was tilted towards him, and Cheng Xiao had the advantage. But it becomes difficult to say as the situation goes on. After all, Tang San and Xiao Wu are in the same dormitory and have spent more time together than him. There is no guarantee that the balance will not tilt in Tang San's favor. Cheng Xiao thought about doing some small tricks, but they were not good methods. It was easy for people to get caught, and the gain was not worth the loss. So Cheng Xiao gave up the idea. Who cares about her? The weather will rain and the mother wants to get married, just take it one step at a time. He doesn't force anything, and he doesn't expect to be able to suddenly kill the dragon with a casual move. Rabbits, it's better to have them, but it's fine if you don't have them. If you can't get them, you still have a soul ring. Even if it's not good, you still have a soul bone. If I can't get your body and mind, I'll take away your bones. This deal won't be a loss. He is much more conscientious than the capitalists, at least he didn't grind the bones to make medicine. By the way, how did Xiaosun learn from the master? How do you feel? Cheng Xiao asked. Teacher is the most knowledgeable person I have ever seen. I have learned a lot from studying with him. Tang San said with a solemn expression, praising him solemnly. Well, you all have teachers to help you get the soul rings, but I am miserable. I don't know where to get the soul rings by then. However, you will probably all be great soul masters by then. Cheng Xiao sighed and suddenly said, you should be able to defeat the century-old spirit beast by then, right? Why don't you help me then? Free thugs, no use for free. Chang Xiao doesn't have any moral obsession, so he has to deal with it. Whether the soul bone can be obtained in the future is still open to question. To use it now, you have to squeeze out every drop of blood. Not wasting is a self-code that all adults should abide by. Xiao Wu frowned, a little hesitant. She was a spirit beast incarnate, and she was a little repelled by hunting spirit beasts. As for Tang San, he didn't say anything. He was very wary of Cheng Xiao, fearing that Cheng Xiao was up to something. I shouldn't choose a soul beast that is too fierce. Plant-type soul beasts are pretty good. Cheng Xiao knew Xiao Wu's concerns, so he made it clear that he only hunted plant-type soul beasts. The silky bone rabbit eats blue-silver grass, so he won't feel pity for plants, right? Sure enough, as soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Wu's resistance became much smaller. She nodded and agreed happily. Okay, Xiaosan and I will help you when the time comes. We agreed that we will only hunt plants. It's a soul beast. Tang San. I haven't agreed yet, but Tang San looked at Xiao Wu's soft and waxy cheeks and didn't have the nerve to refuse. Then it's settled. Is the mistress okay? Tang San hesitated. Xiao Wu turned her head and looked at Tang San doubtfully. Tang San could only say helplessly, I'll see if there's nothing wrong with the teacher then. If nothing happens, I'll go with you. Okay, I'll call you when the time comes. Cheng Xiao squinted his eyes. This is the effect he wanted. Long live the tool man. On the playground, Cheng Xiao was practicing Tai Chi to recover. Not far away, Xiao Wu's lips were pursed so high that she could hang a pot of soy sauce. There was a bamboo broom beside her, but Tang San was not nearby. Xiao Wu and Tang San were work-study students and were assigned to clean the academy every day. However, Tang San did not come today, leaving Xiao Wu alone to clean. After finishing Tai Chi, Cheng Xiao slowly regained his strength, but his brows furrowed. Nowadays, he is indeed practicing Tai Chi well, but there is always an inexplicable layer of film that hinders him, always making him feel that there is something missing in Tai Chi. This matter troubled him for many days, like a fog shrouding his mind. What kind of punch are you doing? It's so soft, just like dancing. Xiao Wu handed over the water glass. She was in a bad mood, so she spoke less politely. It's better to stay with me more. What's wrong? Who provoked you today? Seeing that she was a little moody, Cheng Xiao smiled and said, Where's the mistress? HMPH. Don't mention him. Xiao Wu seemed to have a little conflict with Tang San. Cheng Xiao didn't try to persuade her. She had quarrels with Tang San more than once or twice, but she forgot about them the next day. This made Cheng Xiao couldn't help but think of his cousin's son in his previous life. One day, he quarreled with Xiaomei and threatened not to play with her. The next day, he was fine with her, but a few days later, he felt different and fell in love with her again. Xiaoyi is getting better. Pure childish nature. Although Xiao Wu is in the form of a soul beast, her mind is that of a post-transformation human being. Now she is still like a 6-year-old child. She doesn't even have the awareness of male and female defenses. After 2 days of arguing with her friends, she stopped. I'm so angry, I'm so angry. Xiao Wu pounded the notebook in her hand, as if the notebook in her hand was Tang San, venting her dissatisfaction. You haven't been back for 3 days, what on earth have you been doing? Let me clean here alone. I hate it so much. What kind of book is this? Upon hearing this, Cheng Xiao immediately changed the subject. Are you kidding me? Only Fei Yongyang can help people clean up. He is motivated to be cheerful, and he is not stupid. Helping people work has not been rewarded. Tang San has already lowered the lower limit of the market. He is not stupid. I foolishly rushed in to seize the low-end market, and the profit was not high at all. The mistress gave this to me. It is said to be a meditation method, which is much better than what is taught in school. The master gave it to me to practice. Xiao Wu shook the book in his hand nonchalantly. She is in the form of a soul beast. She does not need to practice so hard. She only needs to integrate into human life, and her soul power will rise. Meditation is not of much help to her. Meditation method. Cheng Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. According to the school's progress, meditation method will basically not be taught until the 3rd grade. He is only in the 1st grade now, so naturally he has no chance to learn it. Show me. Here, take it, take it. Xiao Wu didn't care. Chang Xiao took the note and looked through it. This book records some research on cultivating soul power, what kind of operation route is easy to improve strength, what kind of martial soul is most suitable for cultivation in what environment, and the advantages of different schools of meditation methods. Inferior, etc. This notebook compares the meditation methods of various schools and summarizes a set of very efficient meditation methods. He suddenly remembered that in the original work, even Tang San himself had lamented the excellence of this meditation method. Although it was not as good as the Xuantian technique, it was better than the meditation methods used by most soul masters on the market today. More, and better than what is taught in school. This is probably a summary of the information collected by Wuhan Palace, plus the meditation method of Yu Xiaoging's own blue electric Tyrannosaurus family. Chang Xiao was flipping through the pages while dealing with Xiao Wu, chatting about one thing or another, but what he was thinking in his heart was, as expected, she is still a rich woman. I really saved myself 20 years of detours. Collect the meditation methods of these schools. It's time-consuming and labor-intensive, and if it wasn't for the spirit hall, it would probably be really difficult to do. Chang Xiao sighed in his heart. He also wanted to be with a rich woman. Thinking about it like this, the little rabbit suddenly felt bad. But there are still problems with this. Some places are obviously bypassed, the 8 extraordinary meridians are not flowing through, and some of the 12 meridians are missing. Chang Xiao doesn't know the internal skills or meditation methods, but he knows acupuncture points, the 8 extraordinary meridians and the 12 meridians, which he had to memorize when he first learned acupuncture. In my previous life, I heard from hearsay and some Taoist inner elixir cultivation theories, such as the small Zhaodian walking on the 2 meridians of Ren and Du, and the big Zhaodian walking on the 8 meridians of Qi meridian, blah blah blah. Many of the meditation methods in the notebook in hand involve the 12 meridians and some acupuncture points in the 8 extraordinary meridians. Comparing the two, the Taoist inner alchemy theory in previous lives said that Qi Xing Zhou Tian's theory probably has nothing wrong with it. From this point of view, this meditation method is not as awesome as it is claimed to be. In essence, it is just a controlled experiment and a summary based on the wisdom of others. Of course, it's not that this thing is worthless, at least others haven't concluded it, right? Chang Xiao slapped his mouth and returned the meditation method to Xiao Wu. He lost interest in this meditation method. If he had time to sit and meditate, he might as well do 2 more sets of Tai Chi. Boom, etc. Suddenly, Chang Xiao's mind was like thunder. Is this the invisible and intangible bottleneck when practicing Tai Chi? Chang Xiao suddenly stood up, a look of solemnity appeared on his face, and the more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Hey, why are you going? Xiao Wu was still talking about the bad emotions in her heart, but when she saw Chang Xiao suddenly stood up, she was suddenly surprised. However, Chang Xiao didn't answer even a single sentence. He walked to an open space and began to set up Tai Chi. While doing Tai Chi, he used the meditation method summarized in his notes. Click. At first, Chang Xiao was not used to multitasking, and it even caused Tai Chi to go out of shape. But with Tai Chi, the soul power circulated along the lines in the body. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound in the spine, as if a force was emanating from the spine. Entering the whole body, the invisible barrier was torn open a little. That's what it feels like. Chang Xiao's eyes were startled, and a touch of joy appeared on his face. This feeling is exactly what he feels is lacking these days. However, this feeling was fleeting and quickly disappeared from the body. It did not remain for long. The feeling of being blocked also resurfaced, always lingering in Chang Xiao's heart, making him feel uncomfortable all over. No, it shouldn't be like this. After finishing a set of Tai Chi, Chang Xiao frowned again. The second line of Ren and Governor. Chang Xiao recalled the theory of inner alchemy in his previous life, and soon realized something was wrong. The soul power movement route recorded in the notes would be turned around when it reached the second meridians of Ren and Du. Not only that, some of the 12 meridians, the more difficult routes, are also eerily detoured. Is it possible that people in this world feel that it is too difficult to use the Rendu second channel and the efficiency of absorbing soul power is too low, so they bypass it? The 2 meridians of Ren and Du are not directly affiliated with the internal organs, nor do they have any external or internal relationship with the 12 meridians. They follow different paths and strange paths, so they are regarded as strange meridians. If the soul power circulates from here, it will be extremely difficult. The operation is so difficult, and the speed of absorbing soul power has not been significantly improved. Naturally, people will mistakenly think that it is an inefficient route. But no matter how difficult it is, it can't be bypassed. Only through the 2 meridians of Ren and Du can a small heaven be formed, connecting the 12 meridians to form a whole, and then opening up the 8 extra meridians and leading to the great heaven. Take the second line of Rendu. Chang Xiao plans to modify it on the basis of that meditation method. When it reaches the second channel of Ren and Du, he will rush directly to it instead of going around it. Chang Xiao once again played a set of Tai Chi, and this time, when the soul power circulated to the Rendu second meridian, it directly moved along the Rendu second meridian. However, the Rendu and Du meridians are obscure and difficult to connect, and they were disconnected several times. He was not discouraged and tried again and again, and each time he tried, his soul power went further. Chang Xiao was stumbling at the beginning, but the more he practiced, the smoother and smoother he became. On the other side, Xiao Wu was staring angrily at Chang Xiao. Chang Xiao just left her and started punching her again, ignoring her, which added a few rays of anger to her already bad mood. Xiao-san is like this, and so is Xiao Chang. It's so annoying. If you don't apologize, I'll never pay attention to them again. Xiao Wu gritted her teeth and swore bitterly, tilting her head and sulking. But seeing that Chang Xiao didn't stop for a long time, Xiao Wu's eyes couldn't help but wander. She glanced at Chang Xiao, quickly looked away, paused for a while, and glanced again. Chang Xiao was still indifferent, and her tilted head gradually moved. Just then, his eyes were drawn in by Chang Xiao's movements. She was surprised to find that the originally soft fist path suddenly gained a magical charm. It looks the same as before, soft and powerless, but it seems to contain some kind of strength that is not released. At the end of the move, the strength bursts out, blowing out bursts of punching wind. Is this still that soft fist? Crackling. Suddenly, his muscles and bones roared together, and Chang Xiao felt the sound of tiger and leopard thunder contained in his body. When he successfully ran a small circle, there was a loud bang, and the 12 meridians were instantly connected into a whole. At this moment, there seemed to be a steady stream of power flowing from Rendu's 2 veins to his limbs and bones, and he felt indescribably comfortable. He grasped the bird's tail in one move. Although the movement was gentle, when he reached the end of the move, all the energy was released from his palm. The energy from holding the bird's tail spurted out and directly hit the ground not far away. With a roar, the ground was smashed out of the bowl. A pothole the size of a mouth. Even if a soul master were to take on this energy, it would definitely be uncomfortable. Xiao Wu was stunned. Is this a soul skill? A self-created soul skill? No, it's impossible. Mom said that self-created soul skills can only be accomplished by experts who have been famous for many years. But if it weren't for soul skills, how could Xiao Chang have used such power to injure a soul master without acquiring a soul ring? Just with that soft punch. At this moment, Xiao Wu felt like he was experiencing an electric shock and his scalp was numb. Chang Xiao became more and more comfortable as he beat more and more. His forehead began to sweat. He hit 3 more sets in a row before stopping. His body was soaked with sweat, but he didn't feel tired at all. It was hearty and refreshing, and there seemed to be endless energy in his body, energy. This state is hundreds of times better than going to the infirmary for treatment and recovery. The soul power has not increased. Chang Xiao felt the soul power in his body and did not find that the soul power had increased. However, he clearly felt that the state at this time was completely different from before, and the changes were earth-shaking. Could it be that this method can make up for my innate shortcomings? People in this world use innate soul power to determine a person's talent and future achievements, but in Chang Xiao's view, this logic is wrong. In fact, innate soul power is just a symptom, not the root cause. A person's martial soul and physique determine the speed at which the person absorbs soul power. When a person is born, he begins to passively absorb energy and store it in the body to turn into soul power. The worse the person's physique and martial soul, the worse the affinity with the soul power, the less soul power he has absorbed in 6 years, and the lower the innate soul power after awakening. Those who are born with 0 soul power after awakening mean that their martial soul and physique are too poor and have no affinity with soul power, so they are judged to be unqualified. And being born with full soul power means that they have absorbed a full 10th level of soul power in 6 years. Their physique and martial soul must have a very high affinity with soul power, and the higher their talent will naturally be in the future. Therefore, it should not be the level of innate soul power that represents the level of talent, but the level of affinity that represents the level of talent. The correct term should not be the level of innate soul power, but the level of soul power affinity. Although his martial spirit is a god-level martial spirit, the conflict between the martial spirits of the two kings has resulted in him being able to only use a small part of the power of the shadows. According to the theory of Douluo continent, this is not a vicious martial spirit. Soul mutation. The malignant mutation of his martial soul and his unnatural physique naturally resulted in low soul power affinity. Therefore, after awakening, his innate soul power was only one level, that is, soul power affinity level 1. Although Tai Chi did not improve my soul power, I obviously feel the difference. It is very likely that what has improved is my affinity for soul power. If, without awakening the Shadow King, his upper limit is that of a great soul master, then as long as he practices Tai Chi diligently every day, his upper limit will be infinitely higher. This is consolidating his foundation and building a foundation. Only by laying a solid foundation can we continue to advance to higher levels. If he had started using this method a few years ago, he might have become a genius with innate soul power. Perhaps Tang San's Xuantian Kung is like this. Cheng Xiao thought of the original work, where Tang San practiced the Xuantian Kung for 5 or 6 years before he realized the bottleneck. He guessed that Tang San's twin martial souls should have been born with full soul power, but due to malnutrition, they were born with deficiencies and had a weak constitution, so their affinity was not high. Xuantian Kung also uses the 8 extraordinary meridians, so it plays a role in making up for the innate deficiencies. Xuantian Kung has been increasing Tang San's affinity for soul power. Therefore, during the period of Shrek's training, there was no gap between him and others. In essence, Xuantian Kung is not an acceleration artifact. Call. A smile appeared on Cheng Xiao's lips, and it felt as if a big stone had been removed from her heart, and the pressure was gone. All along, there was a sense of urgency that forced him to work hard, eager to liberate the two martial spirits as soon as possible. This is all because of uncertainty. He wasn't sure how far it would take to free the two kings. He was not sure whether just improving his soul power and strengthening his muscles would allow his body to withstand the impact of the King of Destruction's power. He was even more unsure whether he could wait until the day when he could free his martial soul. He might not be able to do so in his lifetime. These worries have kept him from relaxing or stopping. He is only at the first level of innate talent and cannot reach the upper limit of a great soul master. If he cannot release his martial soul, his life will only last for decades. But now, with Tai Chi's increased soul affinity, his upper limit can be raised. As long as he does not fall behind in practice, and with various opportunities, he will definitely be able to practice to become a titled Douluo, with a lifespan of hundreds or even thousands of years. When the time comes, he can slowly continue to do so. Find a way to solve the martial arts problem. Even without solving the martial soul problem, as long as his soul affinity is improved, his talent will be improved, and it will not be impossible to seize the position of Poseidon by then. With more choices, you don't need to worry as much as before. While Cheng Xiao was deep in thought, Xiao Wu suddenly came up to him and stared at his face with burning eyes. Xiao Cheng, was that a soul skill you just had? Soul skills. Cheng Xiao was so distracted just now that he didn't realize the power of Tai Chi. At this time, Xiao Wu suddenly asked a question, which made him stunned. Yes, that's right. Xiao Wu nodded repeatedly and pointed to the pothole as big as the mouth of a bowl not far away. Look, you just flicked it like that, and there was a boom, and that was it. As she said that, Xiao Wu imitated Cheng Xiao and made a gesture of holding the bird's tail. It looked nondescript, but actually looked a little clumsy and cute. Looking in the direction Xiao Wu pointed, Cheng Xiao's eyes suddenly showed surprise. Can Tai Chi produce such an effect? He had just been too distracted and thought that Tai Chi could only make up for the innate effect, but now it seems that Tai Chi is obviously more than that. Does Tai Chi count as a soul skill? Or is it a kind of meditation practice? For a while, Cheng Xiao couldn't figure out what the combination of Tai Chi and meditation was. That's right, Cheng Xiao said bluntly. Xiao Wu tilted her head, her eyes rolling, and she didn't have any good ideas at first glance. What do you want to do? Chang Xiao was wary, leaning back slightly to distance himself from the ghost. God knows what's going on in her mind. This little girl has now become a big sister in school, and she has every thought. Hee. Xiao Wu immediately held Chang Xiao's hand, swayed and said coquettishly, I want to see the power. Okay. Can you bear the cute bunny-eared girl acting coquettishly towards you without being moved? Chang Xiao sneered. I have a heart of stone. No, this soul skill is not mature yet. Chang Xiao shook his head and refused. It is true that he is not very mature. This is the first time he has tried this method of combining Tai Chi with meditation on luck, and it is not perfect enough. He is not sure whether he can enter that, selfless and formless, state again. This state is rare. It is just a coincidence caused by the first contact and cannot be perfectly reproduced. Just like the feeling of tasting a certain food for the first time has a unique status, no matter how many times you taste it in the future, you can never get back the feeling of the first time. Therefore, he needs to study it carefully and make more modifications based on this meditation method to better match it with Tai Chi. It is said that the breathing method of Bajikwan in the previous life is completely different from that of Tai Chi. Even the breathing methods of various schools of Tai Chi, such as Yang-style Tai Chi, Wu-style Tai Chi, etc., are also quite different. Is Yu Xiaoging's meditation method a high-end product, and can it be universally adapted? Obviously impossible. What's more, Yu Xiaoging's meditation method still has many fallacies, and there are still many similar situations in the 12 meridians that bypass difficult acupuncture points. From his perspective, this meditation method is not perfect. Xiao Wu didn't know what Cheng Xiao was worried about. When she saw that her coquettishness didn't work, she blinked, with a little sparkle in her moist eyes. Cheng Xiao's heart trembled. Something was wrong, and he quickly shook off Xiao Wu's hand, trying to pull away and retreat. However, it was too late. Xiao Wu grabbed his hand tightly and refused to let him go. She was very curious about Cheng Xiao's previous weak but powerful soul skills. Since Cheng Xiao refused to show it, she would try it out herself. Let's see what's going on. Xiao Wu's body was light and soft. She raised her leg and put it on Cheng Xiao's grabbed arm. In just a blink of an eye, Xiao Wu stepped on Cheng Xiao and bullied him. The other leg quickly wrapped around her like a snake. To Cheng Xiao's neck. Girl, are you serious? Cheng Xiao scolded. He had personally seen Xiao Wu almost break a person's bones with this soft skill. If Tang San wasn't careful, he would accidentally hit Xiao Wu. Seeing that Xiao Wu had no intention of giving up, Cheng Xiao quickly responded, holding Xiao Wu's round but tight thighs with his palms to block her blow. If Xiao Wu were to complete the soft lock, he would be knocked unconscious. But Cheng Xiao's response was too hasty and did not have much effect. Xiao Wu's slender waist, as soft as a water snake, curled and twisted, and with the help of Cheng Xiao's strength, she twisted the other person in an extremely twisted posture. One leg was also raised and wrapped around Cheng Xiao's neck from the other side, trying to lock Cheng Xiao in with the popliteal fossa. If he were to completely lock his neck, Cheng Xiao would have no power to resist and would have no choice but to let Xiao Wu slaughter him. Cheng Xiao's mind went blank for an instant, almost instinctively. He raised his left hand, which was clamped by Xiao Wu's hands, and placed his forearm on Xiao Wu's waist and abdomen. He pressed his right hand on Xiao Wu's thigh at the same time. In an instant, Xiao Wu felt as if Cheng Xiao had turned into a ball of soft cotton under the clamp between her legs, which was impossible to grasp, leaving her with no way to release all her strength. Tai Chi Cloud Show. In an instant, the muscles and bones all over Cheng Xiao's body seemed to have reached a strange linkage. Although Cheng Xiao's movements were gentle, for some reason, a huge force came from his left forearm and invaded Xiao Wu's twisted waist and abdomen. The force started from the waist. As soon as this force invaded, most of Xiao Wu's whole body's strength was strangely dissipated. Cheng Xiao cooperated with his right hand and used force to throw Xiao Wu's body directly. Ah! Xiao Wu exclaimed and fell towards the ground with her face. Oops! Cheng Xiao's eyelids jumped when he saw Xiao Wu fell upside down. He quickly stopped his hand and grabbed the slender ankle that Xiao Wu could hold with one hand. The white and tender skin was quite slippery, but Cheng Xiao was too nervous to appreciate the wonderful touch. His other hand climbed up, grabbed Xiao Wu's waist, and pulled her back. The force of the back and forth made Xiao Wu crash into Chang Xiao's arms. Her petite body seemed to have no bones. The wonderful taste of the girl's soft body instantly spread to every corner of her brain, making Chang Xiao unable to help herself. Secretly said a sin. Hee, you were fooled. Thinking that it was over, Chang Xiao couldn't help but feel relaxed while holding Xiao Wu in his arms, but unexpectedly, Xiao Wu's playful voice instantly made Chang Xiao tense up again. Whoosh! Xiao Wu shook her head, and the scorpion braid wrapped tightly around Chang Xiao's neck. As soon as Chang Xiao's arms were loosened, the soft touch in her arms disappeared, and her arms were immediately strangled, unable to move. The first soul skill, waist bow. Xiao Wu jumped up, stretched out her legs and kicked Chang Xiao's lower abdomen, leaned back suddenly, and pulled back hard with her scorpion braid and hands. With the increase in soul skills, Xiao Wu's waist strength doubled, and a huge force lifted Chang Xiao up from the ground. He immediately lost his balance. Xiao Wu's hands loosened and his legs exerted force, and he kicked off as soon as it was delivered. Chang Xiao flew out. Chang Xiao's body flew into the air and he couldn't help but curse secretly. He actually activated his martial soul and used soul skills. He didn't have any soul ring skills at the moment. Isn't this bullying an honest person? There's no way to let go. He had watched Xiao Wu's move countless times when Tang San fought with him, and he had already thought of many countermeasures. Almost at the moment Xiao Wu let go, Chang Xiao stretched out his hands like snakes, wrapped them around Xiao Wu's arms, and flew out backwards with Xiao Wu. Ah! Xiao Wu was shocked by this response, and her mind went blank for a moment when her body was in the air. But soon Xiao Wu came to her senses, stepped on Chang Xiao to use strength, and tried to break free from Chang Xiao's restraint. But for some reason, no matter how Xiao Wu reacted, Chang Xiao seemed to have no bones and hugged her in turn, like a soft ball of water wrapping her up, making it difficult to escape. It's this soft strength again. For a moment, Xiao Wu was quite annoyed by this strange force that she couldn't shake off and kept struggling against. It's this soft strength again. Xiao Wu was very annoyed. At this moment, Chang Xiao was stuck to him like a piece of candy, with a soft strength all over his body. Try to break free. This force seems to have some kind of magic power, biting her tightly and not letting go. I want to fight against it, but I can't grasp the point of stress. Every time I make a move, it seems to hit the air. There are as many disgusting people as you want. Boom! The two fell to the ground together, and they were both knocked unconscious immediately. But soon the two of them woke up immediately. Chang Xiao knew Xiao Wu's temperament and was very competitive. She would never give up if there was no outcome. Therefore, the moment he regained consciousness, Chang Xiao restrained Xiao Wu and pinned her to the ground. Hoo, hey, be gentle, you have lost. Chang Xiao gasped, and accidentally almost let Xiao Wu break free, but instead gave himself a heavy blow. Xiao Wu refused to admit defeat, but her joints magically detached and twisted into shocking arcs. She used her hands and feet to counter Chang Xiao's limb joints. You're the one who lost. Ah, you lost. Ah, call me Sister Xiao Wu. Even though Xiao Wu is light and soft, she doesn't seem to weigh much, but her waist strength is amazing. Her legs are not thick, her skin is smooth and tender, but her muscles are quite tight and extremely explosive, almost breaking Chang's calf. If it weren't for the long-term training that gave Chang Xiao a little confidence to fight, and the strength of Tai Chi, Chang Xiao would have given up long ago. Bah! Today, I will let you know who is bigger. Both of them were ruthless and merciless. During the fight, the two could not avoid close contact. The soft and delicate touch of the skin and the scent of the fragrance made Mr. Chang Xiao couldn't help but have his thoughts racing. It won't do any good to keep getting hung up on it, it needs to end as soon as possible. This kind of joint technique is the best at jutsu. If you drag it on for a long time, you will definitely lose in the end. Gritting his teeth, Chang Xiao grabbed Xiao Wu's ankle and raised his leg above his head. Xiao Wu put away the other leg and prepared to knee Chang Xiao. Unexpectedly, the next moment, Chang Xiao hugged her waist, turned her over abruptly, causing her to pull out a one-word horse. Chang Xiao pressed her tightly, and then started scratching Xiao Wu's waist. Did you lose or not? Tell me quickly. Ha 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 ha, you are cheating, ha ha ha. Xiao Wu couldn't help laughing. She wanted to break free but was restrained by Chang Xiao, so she could only let Chang Xiao do what she did. I give up, I give up. Ha ha ha. Xiao Wu finally couldn't bear it anymore. Seeing Xiao Wu finally admitting defeat, Cheng Xiao relaxed and lay directly next to Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu also fell into Cheng Xiao's arms. Hoo hoo hoo. Both of them were exhausted, and their breathing sounded like an old bellows. Without the strength, Xiao Wu didn't move much, so she lay down in Cheng Xiao's arms and rested, listening to the strong heartbeat gradually calming down, and the breath of the two people also gradually became calmer from intense. What are you doing? Suddenly, a childish and shocked voice came from not far away. The two of them turned their heads weakly and were startled when they saw the person coming. Mistress, you're back. Tang San was seen standing not far away, his body as if struck by lightning, looking stiffly at the two people with inelegant postures. Tang San opened his mouth, and there seemed to be thousands of words in his throat, but in the end they were all stuck in his throat, not knowing what to say at this time. This time the teacher took him out to observe the habits of the soul beasts, but he didn't come back for several days. Without Xiao Wu's company, he felt very boring in the soul beast forest. On my way back today, my heart seemed to have already flown to school. He hurried back to the dormitory, but did not see the petite figure he had always wanted to see. After asking his roommate and learning that Xiao Wu was cleaning the playground alone, Tang San happily went straight to the playground, intending to help Xiao Wu clean the rest of the playground and let Xiao Wu have a good rest. As a result, when he rushed to the playground, the scene in his imagination of Xiao Wu happily waving to him did not appear. Instead, they were lying on the playground hugging each other, breathing heavily. For a moment, he only felt that his breathing was sluggish, his throat was so dry and hoarse that he could make no sound, and a stinging pain grew in his heart. Heartache. Real heartache is not about making a big fuss, but about silent internal consumption. We were just sparring. Xiao Wu didn't notice that something was wrong with Tang San's mood. She got up and jumped up to Tang San. Xiao San, Xiao San. Let me tell you, Xiao Cheng actually created his own soul skills, and with throwing stones of yours is just as magical, well, it's also annoying. Although Xiao Wu has transformed into a 100,000-year-old soul beast, she has not yet grown to the point where she can have feelings for a man and a woman. But Tang San was different. Like Cheng Xiao, both of them were time travelers. Their weak bodies contained the soul of an adult. The difference between adults and children is that their minds are complex. Sometimes even adults have difficulty understanding their own colorful hearts. During these days of getting along, Xiao Wu gave Tang San a completely different feeling from others. In his previous life, he was an orphan, and in this life, his father ignored him and never experienced any tenderness. But in the process of getting along with Xiao Wu, he felt a kind of warmth in Xiao Wu that made him indulge, but he had not noticed it before. However, at this moment, he suddenly bumped into the intimate scene between Xiao Wu and Cheng Xiao, and the special feelings deep in his heart surfaced. Tang San was surprised to realize that Xiao Wu was so special to him. He just felt as if something important had been taken away from him, which gave him a silent anger. However, no one could talk to these thoughts, so he could only keep consuming them in his heart with nowhere to vent them. Tang San's eyes gradually darkened, and the rage in his heart was so raging that he couldn't even hear what Xiao Wu was saying. Suddenly raising his head, Tang San's angry eyes collided with Cheng Xiao's cold eyes, and a killing intent was born from the anger. Mistress, mistress, what are you thinking about? Xiao Wu's little hand waved in front of Tang San's eyes. Tang San was startled, and the murderous intent in his eyes suddenly disappeared. He found that the cute, small and tender cheek had come to his eyes at some point, looking at him full of doubts. Tang San quickly showed a fond smile. I didn't think about anything. I just haven't seen you for a long time and I miss you a little. It didn't take long, it was only 3 days. You haven't finished cleaning yet, I'll help you with the rest. After saying that, Tang San lowered his head and picked up the bamboo broom beside him. The mistress is so nice. Looking at Tang San's back, Cheng Xiao's eyes were still indifferent. He was not unaware of the fleeting killing intent just now, but he didn't care. He was very sure that Tang San didn't dare to attack him here. It's easy to make someone afraid, just grab what he cares about most. And Cheng Xiao has already caught Tang San's weakness, Xiao Wu. As long as Xiao Wu had a special attitude towards Cheng Xiao, Tang San would not dare to attack him in front of Xiao Wu. Tang San could not bear the consequences of Xiao Wu hating him. Therefore, all he had to do was keep favoring Xiao Wu. Haha, as expected, foxes and dogs can't play together. Cheng Xiao stretched his waist, smiled at the corner of his mouth, and narrowed his eyes with a dangerous arc. One was carrying a fairy tale, and the other was hiding a wolf heart. Neither of them were human beings. As for who has played with whom, who knows? Anyway, Cheng Xiao is enjoying the fun now. He just likes to look at those eyes that say, "You hate me but you can't kill me." What about a fox and a dog? Xiao Wu listened half-heartedly, with some confusion on his face. What about you, Vixen? Bah, bah, bah. Xiao Cheng, even you have imitated the mistress. Don't say this word again in the future, otherwise. 2.5 years. Time flies. During this period, Cheng Xiao spent a lot of time and finally summed up a set of soul power operation routes that are quite suitable for Tai Chi. Every time he modified a route, he would do Tai Chi for a day to taste its effects. If he felt worse, he would start over from scratch. If he felt better, he would make modifications based on this. After repeated revisions and constant attempts, this set of soul power operation routes finally took shape. Cheng Xiao still feels that it is not perfect yet. Except for entering the selfless and formless state for the first time, he has not been able to find the feeling at that time again in the past 2.5 years. The current route of soul power operation only makes him infinitely closer to selfless and formless, but there is still a slight difference. He still wants to make better modifications on this basis, but limited by his current knowledge reserve and insight, it is difficult to make even the slightest modification to this set of soul power operation routes. No matter how helpless Cheng Xiao is, he has to admit that sometimes manpower is exhausted. He is not Zhang Sanfeng who can soar in a day, and he is not that capable. He can only rely on his vague intuition to make fine adjustments little by little, and gradually find a better state in order to achieve perfection. The soul power movement route was finally finalized, combined with Tai Chi, and finally compiled into the Tai Chi method. Thanks to Tai Chi's compensation for physical fitness, the innate deficiencies were gradually made up, and in less than 3 years, Cheng Xiao broke through to level 10. This speed is considered very fast compared to ordinary people, but it is far from being called a genius. Tang San and Xiao Wu broke through to level 20 a few days ago. Breaking through the Soul Master stage is much more difficult than the Soul Warrior stage, but they can break through faster than Cheng Xiao. This shows that in terms of innate physique, that is, affinity, Cheng Xiao is still far behind them. He had already reached level 20 when he was less than 10 years old. This news alarmed the dean. Under the leadership of the dean of the academy, he hunted a ghost vine for Tang San and obtained the second soul ring. His skill is parasitism. The treatment of geniuses is enviable and cannot be enjoyed by ordinary people. Almost all the students were led by soul master teachers of more than 10 levels to hunt soul beasts. There were few with century-old soul rings, and most of them only had 10-year soul rings. The quality was not that great, and the direction of the soul ring attributes was not satisfactory. After Cheng Xiao broke through to level 10, he had an opportunity to ask his teacher to help hunt soul beasts, but he did not choose this path. A 10-year soul beast is too low for him. He worked so hard to exercise his body, toil his muscles and bones, to hone his mind, and to rely on Tai Chi to cultivate his innate talent and make up for his shortcomings. Not to mention the years of absorption of super soul rings, at least it must be up to standard. 10 years of soul rings is not enough to fill the gap between the teeth. Therefore, he proposed the agreement made more than 2 years ago and approached Xiao Wu and Tang San. In 2.5 years, a lot of things happened, and the relationship between Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu became closer. Of course, the same was true for the relationship between Tang San and Xiao Wu. A year and a half ago, at the end of the first school year, Xiao Wu followed Tang San back to the Holy Soul Village and became a brother and sister with Tang San. Cheng Xiao could not stop this. Xiao Wu didn't know when she made a private agreement with Tang San to go to Tang San's house during the summer vacation, but she didn't give Cheng Xiao a chance to stop him. As for following Tang San back to Holy Soul Village, Cheng Xiao finally gave up the idea. He had to help his family with business during the summer vacation. He couldn't stay in Holy Soul Village throughout the summer vacation. He would always give them a chance to be alone together. Could he stop him once, or twice or 3 times? Besides, the two of them were in the same dormitory, so they could hook up at any time. As long as they were willing, Tang San could always find an opportunity. With the soul of an adult, his methods are naturally higher than that of a child. With Tang San's thoughts in mind, it is inevitable that the two will become brother and sister. After 6 years in the Junior Soul Master Academy, could Cheng Xiao still stay close to him? It's going to rain. If your mother wants to get married, let her be. Cheng Xiao didn't care. At worst he could just recycle the bones. He was quite greedy for the invincible golden body, but as for the body, the bones and soul are all with me. What Tang San got was just an empty shell without a soul. What's more, this is not a bad thing. Since Tang San and Xiao Wu became brother and sister, Tang San followed Xiao Wu's words. And Cheng Xiao only needs to defeat Xiao Wu to indirectly command Tang San. Xiao Wu is heartless and is much easier to fool than Tang San. In this wave, he was the one who made the profit. He was the winner. Of course, Xiao Wu is not stupid, and he will definitely not agree to anything that goes too far. Mistress, are you free today? Mistress, do you have time today? Mistress, you should be free today, right? Since breaking through to level 10, Cheng Xiao would ask Tang San every day if he had time to accompany him to hunt spirit beasts. Tang San was shocked by this. The scene on the playground 2.5 years ago has been deeply engraved in Tang San's mind, and Tang San has no good impression of Cheng Xiao at all. Tang San could also sense Cheng Xiao's evil intentions. Whenever the two of them looked at each other, Tang San could always detect a hint of deep scheming. Therefore, the relationship between the two is in a very delicate state. If it were not for Xiao Wu, the tight string between the two would probably break in an instant. Now the two of them maintain peace on the surface, but secretly they have simulated fighting countless times. Both of them knew that their relationship was at a freezing point, but what Tang San never expected was that, even if it was like this, how could Cheng Xiao have the nerve to bring up the old matter and ask him to help him hunt down the spirit beast? Can people be so shameless? Tang San said he didn't understand and was greatly shocked by this. Cheng Xiao doesn't care about so much. Not to mention that the two of them haven't fallen out yet, they have become life and death rivals. What should be used must be used. Just kidding, do you know how much it costs to hire a great soul master outside? Cheng Xiao's family is not a noble family, and they are not generous enough to take money as money. It is the conscience of every competent capitalist to squeeze all the labor that can be squeezed. Cheng Xiao felt his conscience and found that he was indeed quite competent. At first, Tang San refused on the grounds that the teacher needs his help in sorting out the documents, but later he still couldn't hold on. The main reason is that he is not thick-skinned enough, and his weakness is still in the hands of others. If he can persist, there will be trouble. He really didn't expect that Cheng Xiao would insist on waiting for him to come with him. This delay made Xiao Wu a little dissatisfied. In addition, Cheng Xiao was always being angry at the side, and Xiao Wu started to lose his temper with him. Xiao San, when do you have time? If you keep delaying, we won't wait for you. Xiao Wu pursed her lips. Tang San was anxious. You can't go. It's too dangerous to hunt spirit beasts. I don't trust you if you go. What should we do? I promised Xiao Cheng back then. I'm the eldest sister and I can't break my promise. Xiao Wu snorted. Huh. Anyway, I don't care. If you don't make time, I will accompany Xiao Cheng alone. Quote. Tang San had no choice but to say, okay, just wait for a few more days and I'll ask for a leave from the teacher. Hee, mistress is the best. Xiao Wu said with a smile, I know mistress loves me the most. Only this time, not next time. I'm really worried about you. Tang San reluctantly compromised, with a doting look on his face. Xiao Wu said coquettishly, I know, weren't we still young at that time? Xiao Cheng asked us for help and casually agreed. I won't do anything dangerous in the future, okay. That's pretty much it. In this way, Cheng Xiao conquers Xiao Wu Pua Tang San, the alliance is achieved, and the 3 wins. Let's play games for a while. I just got off the Star Dome Railway or Genshin Impact, which one is more fun? A few days later, Cheng Xiao and Tang San Xiao Wu set off together to the soul hunting forest under the jurisdiction of Wuhan Palace. That one is a ghost vine. It is about 300 years old. It is my second spirit ring. It is one of the more ferocious among the plant spirit beasts. This is bamboo, the greenest plant-based soul beast, which can promote the growth of blue-silver grass. This is the Tengu gourd. Thanks to the master's teachings, Tang San had a profound understanding of spirit beasts, and he picked up knowledge about the various spirit beasts he saw along the way. Chang Xiao thought to himself that he might not be able to do this. Although he knew these soul beasts, he didn't know much about their various characteristics. It seemed that Yu Xiaogang was not useless, at least his knowledge summary was quite good. This is a soul-binding vine. Be careful not to get close to it. It is a parasitic soul beast. It usually lives on trees. If a creature comes close, it will cause the soul-binding vine to react and wrap around those who come close. Finally, it suffocates and dies, turning into food for the trees it inhabits. This soul-binding vine should be close to 500 years old. Don't be too nervous. It will not attack actively. It will only react when it touches his vine. It is a kind of soul with extremely low intelligence. A beast. Chang Xiao narrowed his eyes and murmured, 500 years. Just him. Chang Xiao is temporarily unable to awaken the shadow to become a soldier, and can only use the basic power of shadow, which is similar to the power of ordinary martial arts. In this case, it would be more appropriate to take the control line or the agility and attack assassin line in the early stage. In order to deal with Tang San, who might fall out at any time, Chang Xiao felt that he had to have a way to deal with Tang San specifically. In his previous life, he was just an ordinary person, and his various fancy methods were naturally inferior to Tang San, who was born in the Tang sect. The four most difficult methods for Tang San to deal with were the hidden weapon Baiji, the clear sky hammer, the ghostly shadow, and the control of the crane and the capture of the dragon. There is nothing he can do about the hidden weapon for now, so he can ignore it. Tang Hao once told Tang San not to use the clear sky hammer easily. If Tang San was not pressed for a hurry, the clear sky hammer could be ignored for the time being. Tai Chi is broad and profound, using softness to overcome hardness, which is enough to cope with the method of grappling, controlling the crane and catching the dragon. In the end, only ghosts and shadows remained. Chang Xiao needs to find a soul skill that can limit his body skills. The soul-binding vine is likely to provide a control skill. Chang Xiao plans to take a gamble. When Tang San heard this, he was immediately shocked. Xiao Chang, are you confused? This soul-binding vine is 500 years old. The absorption period of the first soul ring must not exceed 423 years. Chang Xiao smiled and said, I'm not confused. Have you forgotten your own teacher's research? The physical strength of a soul master determines the upper limit of the soul ring, and it is very difficult to strengthen a person's physical strength, so there is a general limit to the life of a soul ring. Yu Xiaogang's theory is not correct, or in other words, incomplete. Chang Xiao knew very well that the absorption period of a soul ring was related to the quality of the martial soul, the strength of the body and the power of the soul, but he did not need to help Yu Xiaogang improve the theory, and naturally he would not mention it more. Then can I reason that if my body is stronger than ordinary people, I can withstand a higher year-old soul ring. My current physique is far beyond that of my peers. According to theory, the number of years of soul rings I can absorb, I want to give it a try. Quote. As a time traveler, Chang Xiao is confident that his mental strength is stronger than that of ordinary people. Although his martial spirit has conflicts and the power he can use is smaller, it is still a god-level martial spirit in essence. Coupled with the crazy physical exertion over the years, Tai Chi made up for his innate deficiencies, and his physical fitness followed closely behind. The three conditions for leapfrog absorption were met. If he didn't give it a try, how could he be willing to do it? This soul-binding vine is more than 500 years old, which means it is only less than a few decades older. If it is absorbed, the risk is relatively small. It is just a good time to use it to test your limits. Hearing this, Xiao Wu suddenly became anxious and grabbed Chang Xiao's clothes. No, I don't agree. Xiao Chang, this matter is very dangerous. Even if this theory is true, then how do you determine that your limit is 500 years? Tang San saw Xiao Wu worrying about Chang Xiao. For some reason, he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. However, during the 2.5 years the three of them had been together, Tang San also knew Xiao Wu's temperament, so he pursed his lips and didn't say anything more. What? Chang Xiao held Xiao Wu's hand, took it off her clothes, and then gently advised, "It's okay. I'm not like you who can follow the steps step by step. I want to fight for myself." Xiao Wu's soft little hands seemed boneless and as delicate as silk. Seeing Cheng Xiao's movement, Tang San's pupils shrank suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and a trace of unknown jealousy ignited in his heart, and his hand unconsciously touched his cuffs. But thinking of Xiao Wu being by his side, he finally removed his hands from his cuffs, lowered his head and gritted his teeth, forcing himself not to look at this scene. He is very aware of Xiao Wu's affection for Cheng Xiao. If he is Xiao Wu's brother in name and reality, then Cheng Xiao is another brother in name and name. Although he occupies a high position in Xiao Wu's heart, Cheng Xiao's weight is not small either. Every time Cheng Xiao exercises, Xiao Wu will be waiting beside him no matter how boring he is. From Xiao Wu's point of view, both of them are very good to her, and she is not willing to give up either one of them. If the two brothers quarrel over such a trivial matter, Xiao Wu will definitely be angry. HMPH, I don't care, you just can't choose this. Otherwise I won't help you. Xiao Wu didn't notice Tang San's strangeness at all, and pursed her lips and hummed. Don't worry, it'll be no problem. Cheng Xiaojian couldn't convince Xiao Wu, so he could only turn his attention to Tang San. Besides, Xiao San should be very confident, right? This is your teacher's theory. The two of them looked at Tang San at the same time, making Tang San feel on pins and needles. Their gazes were like sharp blades, tearing away the darkness in his heart and exposing it to others. Tang San panicked and nodded hesitantly. Agree. Look, Xiaosan also agrees. If you don't believe me, why can't you trust Xiaosan? Seeing that Tang San and Cheng Xiao were in agreement, Xiao Wu pursed her lips and could only reluctantly agree. Then we agreed in advance that once we sense something is wrong, we must give up and we can't be stubborn. Cheng Xiao nodded in agreement. After making the agreement, Tang San and Xiao Wu set out to kill the soul-binding vine. The soul-binding vine's intelligence was not high and its attack method was relatively simple, so it was far less dangerous than other spirit beasts. It didn't take long for Tang San and Xiao Wu to cut off all the vines of the soul-binding vine, making it lose its attack power. Cheng Xiao gave it the final blow. The yellow soul ring condensed from the soul-binding vine. Cheng Xiao did not hesitate, crossed his legs and began to absorb it. Looking at Cheng Xiao's movements, Tang San's eyes flickered, and for some reason, a trace of evil thoughts arose in his heart, hoping that Cheng Xiao would fail and explode. He shook his head and laughed at himself. If he succeeds, he can also verify the teacher's theory, which will be good for both the teacher and my future practice. If I really want him to die, I have to do it myself. What are you doing? Xiao Wu was a little confused when she saw Tang San's movements. Ahem, it's nothing, I'm just a little sleepy. Shake your head and wake up. Chapter 11. The whole process of absorbing the soul ring did not last long, but the surging soul power in his body still made Cheng Xiao feel a little bit of difficulty, but it was not to the point that it was difficult for him to handle, and he completely absorbed the soul ring with a straight push. Cheng Xiao quickly made a preliminary estimate of his body. His limit should not exceed 600 years. If it were higher, something might happen. It would be great if this soul-binding vine was 580 years old, just touching the limit. Cheng Xiao only felt a little regretful in his heart, and quickly adjusted his mentality. It can't be calculated like this. Everything can't be perfect. It is absorbed beyond the years. If it is higher, the risk will be higher. If something goes wrong, it will be too late to regret. A higher age. Cheng Xiao is not crazy enough to gamble with his life. What he needs is to reach as many years as possible within a safe range so that he can have a clear understanding of himself. What's more, what's the point of the first two soul rings increasing by several decades and 100 years? For soul rings that are less than 10,000 years old, there is only a few hundred years difference, but there is not much difference in the power of soul skills. There is no need to gamble your life in order to gain such a small advantage. It's not like he doesn't have other ways to improve his strength. Cheng Xiao slowly opened his eyes, and after sensing his soul skill, there was a subtle arc at the corner of his mouth. How's it going? How's it going? Xiao Wu came closer, eyes full of curiosity. Tang San didn't know why, but he felt a trace of regret in his heart. What a coincidence, it's a control skill similar to Xiao San's. Cheng Xiao smiled. I call it soul binding touch, and all the shadows I look at will be controlled by me. When I use my soul skills, the shadows will turn into tentacles, bind the enemy. Then who has stronger soul skills between you and Xiao San? Xiao Wu was a little curious. You have to try this to know. Cheng Xiao shook his head. Xiao San, do you want to give it a try? Haha, no need. I'm already at level 22, you're no match for me. Tang San smiled, although his expression was humble, there was a hint of arrogance in his words. With the master's teachings and the fact that his soul power was higher than his opponent's, Tang San didn't think he would lose to Cheng Xiao. Just try the effect of the first soul skill without using the second soul skill. Let's see whose control skill is faster and easier to control the opponent. Yes, let's give it a try. I also want to see Xiao Cheng's soul skills. Xiao Wu looked at Tang San expectantly. Tang San seemed unable to bear such a look. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. Xiao Wu clapped her hands happily and jumped like a little rabbit to the middle of the two of them. Then I will be the referee. I will shout 1, 2, 3, and you two will take action at the same time. Tang San and Cheng Xiao stepped away at the same time, their expressions gradually becoming serious, releasing their martial spirits. The blue-silver grass began to grow wildly around Tang San, and Cheng Xiao's eyes turned into black holes like black holes. 1, 2, 3, start. The first soul skill, entanglement. Close black lens bracket. The first soul skill, soul binding touch. Close black lens bracket. The two of them activated their first soul skills at the same time, but in addition to this, they also tacitly retreated toward the rear. Tang San even used Ghost Shadow, turning his body into a series of afterimages, moving away from the place. They both knew that the other party was using control skills, so how could the two of them stand there without any precautions? None of them are fools. The vines transformed by the blue-silver grass almost instantly appeared within 1 meter of Cheng Xiao's body and shot towards Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao retreated, but the blue-silver grass pursued him at an extremely fast speed. Wrapping around Cheng Xiao made Cheng Xiao feel quite embarrassed to deal with it. Seeing this scene, the corners of Tang San's mouth raised slightly. It seemed that the direction his teacher had chosen for him was correct. Blue-silver grass was indeed suitable for taking the control route. At this moment, he was extremely glad that he had accepted Yu Xiaogang as his teacher. However, the next moment, Tang San's smile froze on his face. He suddenly looked towards his feet, only to see that his shadow turned into tentacles, climbing up his legs and directly restraining him. He stopped, making him ghostly and unable to perform, and he stumbled to the ground. When the shadow did not stop, and continued to climb upwards, restraining Tang San's arms, leaving only his forearms free to move. Xiao San, you lose. Cheng Xiao hid behind the tree. The blue-silver grass was blocked by the tree, lost Tang San's control, and instinctively wrapped around the tree pole. In his desperation, Tang San instinctively bent his wrist slightly and prepared to use the hidden weapon without thinking. Xiao San, it's just a discussion, there's no need to use your iron fist, right? Cheng Xiao said with a smile, but secretly summoned the soul power in his hand, just in case this kid got a brain attack. Cheng Xiao didn't have any murderous intentions. He knew that Tang San had a titled Douluo daddy who was watching from somewhere. Killing Tang San was purely an act of seeking death. He was not that stupid. Tang San was startled. Yes, it was just a competition. Could it be possible that Cheng Xiao could be killed with a hidden weapon just because of one failure? Even if he wanted to kill, he couldn't kill him at this time. Xiao Wu was still watching. If he really killed him, Xiao Wu would definitely not forgive himself. The struggling movements gradually weakened, and the tight wrists relaxed. Tang San's eyes dimmed and he smiled bitterly. I lost. Cheng Xiao removed the soul binding touch and let go of Tang San. Tang San stood up and dusted himself off, but frowned tightly. Why is Xiao Cheng's soul skill so much faster than Xiao San? Xiao Wu still favored Tang San in her heart. Seeing that Tang San was worried about it, she asked out loud. That's natural. Tang San's soul skills are fundamentally different from mine. Cheng Xiao explained. Xiao San's soul skills and my soul skills are activated at about the same speed, but there is a key problem. Xiao San's martial spirit is blue-silver grass. If it activates soul skills, it must have roots, so it needs to take root in the ground first, and if I prepare in advance, I can take this opportunity to retreat, while the blue-silver grass can only continue to grow behind and chase me. But my martial spirit is different. The shadow follows the object. No matter where Tang San escapes, the shadow will follow. The starting point of the shadow is moving. It only needs to climb up your feet and entangle you. After it's on your legs, the shadow is completely fixed on the ground, completely blocking your movement. To put it bluntly, the entanglement of plants must have roots, and the roots of plants cannot move. The root of the shadow is in the human body, so escaping is useless. It is not just talk about following the shadow. Then no one can escape this skill. Xiao Wu's eyes widened. Cheng Xiao smiled and did not answer. Of course he could avoid it by hiding, but how could he directly expose his weakness to others? Let's go, the journey is over, it's time to go back. Cheng Xiao lightly tapped Xiao Wu's forehead and took the lead to walk out of the soul-hunting forest. HMPH. Xiao Wu covered her forehead, wrinkled her nose at Cheng Xiao's back, and then chased after Cheng Xiao. Xiao Cheng, wait for me. This soul skill of yours is quite interesting. How about we compete and see? Don't want. Why? The two of them were playing happily, completely forgetting that there was someone behind them who hadn't followed. Tang San looked at the backs of the two of them, but now the jealousy in his heart was gone. He frowned, his mind filled with Cheng Xiao's words just now. For the first time in history, Tang San began to doubt whether his blue-silver grass's control path was correct. Cheng Xiao's few words destroyed Tang San's confidence, so much so that he felt that in terms of control, blue-silver grass simply couldn't match Shadow's advantage. Xiaosan, go and get the fourth book from the left in the second row of the bookshelf on the left. Your task these days is to read this book. This book records my research on the weapon soul. It should be useful to you. Ha, mistress. Yu Xiaogang originally planned to give Tang San homework, but saw that Tang San didn't respond for a long time. He looked up and found that Tang San was unconscious. Ha, teacher, what did you just say? Tang San was startled and came back to his senses. What's wrong with you these days? Why are you so distracted? Yu Xiaogang frowned. Tang San opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end he could only smile bitterly. Did you follow that man named Cheng Xiao to hunt soul beasts a few days ago? Could it be that you were injured? Yu Xiaogang recalled it and asked. No, there are no injuries. What Cheng Xiao hunted was the soul-binding vine. It was not difficult, but Tang San was in a low mood. Teacher, I now have some doubts about whether it is correct to take the route of a control-type soul master. Yu Xiaogang's expression became solemn. His disciples began to doubt the soul master route he had chosen. This was not a good sign. It seemed that what happened in the past few days was not small, otherwise it would not have caused Tang San to fall into self-doubt. He still understood this disciple's character. What's going on? Let's talk about it in detail. A few days ago, Xiao Wu and I helped Cheng Xiao hunt down a 500-year-old soul-binding vine, and then... Wait, you said 500 years. Did you read that correctly? Yu Xiaogang interrupted. It can't be wrong. Teacher has been teaching me for so long. Don't you still know it? I remember the plant system of the soul-binding vine very firmly, and there will be no mistake. Yu Xiaogang stood up with a swish, a flash of excitement burst out in his eyes. 500 years, the first soul ring in 500 years. In other words, the strength of the physical body can indeed affect the upper limit of the soul ring. No wonder that kid works out so hard every day. He wanted to publish a paper as soon as possible to give the Soul Master world a small shock. No, that kid can only be considered an isolated case at best. There must be a second case to be convincing enough, and this second case must be under controlled conditions in order to convince everyone. And this second case, Yu Xiaogang's eyes fell on Tang San, and his breathing was a little rapid. There was no one more suitable than him as a disciple. Isn't this a good thing? He proved that super-year absorption is possible. Are you discouraged just because of this? Yu Xiaogang smiled and shook his head and comforted. Don't forget what I taught you before. Although the soul ring age is important, it is far less important than the soul master route. As long as you follow the right direction, the disadvantage of the soul ring age can be made up for. Moreover, he helped us verify the feasibility of super-year absorption. We can try it with confidence in the future. You don't have to worry. I will arrange all the training plans for you so that you can use these in the subsequent soul rings. Make up the difference. Tang San shook his head and forced a smile. Thank you, teacher. But it's not because of this, but because I lost to him. Then, Tang San told Yu Xiaogang everything about the discussion that day. After listening to Tang San's narration, Yu Xiaogang fell into silence. He did not expect that the innate first-level mutated martial spirit could perform so well. This was really beyond his expectation. But that can only go so far. Innate level 1 is innate level 1. No matter how amazing the performance of the first soul skill is, it cannot cover up the fact that it is a waste. After a long silence, Yu Xiao just spoke again. Xiaosan, the teacher doesn't blame you for this failure. But what you absolutely shouldn't do is be so depressed these days. Do you think of me as your teacher? When Tang San heard this, he was immediately shocked. What he said was serious. He immediately knelt down in front of Yu Xiaogang. Teacher, what are you talking about? How could Xiao San not treat you as a teacher? One day, I will become my teacher. I will be my father for life. Now that Xiao San has accepted you as my teacher, I will never change that for the rest of my life. Oh, get up. Yu Xiaogang sighed softly and touched Tang San's head. Xiao San, remember, I am your teacher. No matter you have any questions about cultivation in the future, you should contact him immediately. I communicate with you, and as a teacher, I will point out your shortcomings and help you improve your future cultivation. Yes, Xiaosan has remembered it. Xiaosan knows his mistake. Tang San nodded heavily. Xiaosan, the failure in this fight is not your fault. You still have little actual combat experience, so you suffered a big loss. In the future, when you have more experience, you will naturally have ways to deal with it. For example, this Cheng Xiao, do you think his soul skills are really good? Is it perfect? Tang San hesitated for a while. Although he didn't find a way to crack it, he still intuitively believed that Cheng Xiao's first soul skill was not unsolvable. I can analyze the 3 shortcomings of his soul skill in just an instant. Yu Xiaogang held out 3 fingers. First, although the shadow follows people, its shadow ability must be restricted by the size and depth of the shadow. If it rises into the air, will the shadow shrink and become lighter? At that time, the shadow's binding power will inevitably greatly reduced. Second, the shadow must be restricted by his soul power. Judging from your description just now, the height of his shadow tentacles is only at your waist. It will not be able to completely tie you up until you fall. Doesn't it mean that there is a limit to his height? As long as you react immediately and jump, you may be able to escape the shackles of this tentacle. There is a more important point, and it is also the third point. Since the shadow has materialized, it cannot be regarded as a shadow anymore, but should be regarded as a rope. If it is a rope, it must have an upper limit. If your soul power and strength is powerful enough to shatter the shadow's tentacles directly. No matter what Yu Xiaogang's character is, he has studied theoretical knowledge for so many years, and he still has a clear vision. He actually analyzed the shortcomings of Cheng Xiao's soul skills and even how to solve them. If Cheng Xiao were here, maybe everyone would applaud Yu Xiaogang. However, the premise of these analyses is that his martial soul is only the current, castrated version. When he truly releases the Shadow King, the power of all his soul skills will make a qualitative leap. If we really use the current, castrated version, to formulate targeted tactics, it will be a bit desperate, and Cheng Xiao will probably faint from laughter. However, Tang San didn't know all this. After listening to the teacher's instructions, he suddenly felt enlightened, and all the worries that had troubled him before disappeared. Teacher, thank you for your advice, I understand. Tang San said excitedly. Sure enough, the teacher was correct. From now on, he could no longer easily doubt the route chosen by the teacher. How could the teacher give him the wrong route after being immersed in theory for so many years? Also, don't pay too much attention to that Cheng Xiao. His innate soul power is only at the first level. I see him training to the death every day. This is overdrawing his potential. Yu Xiaogang's mind showed that he was going to fight every day. The figure who was exhausted from his exercise said quite decisively, I dare to say that he will reach level 19 at most in his life. Squeezing himself every day without supplementing with a large amount of rare soul beast meat and medicinal materials, once his potential is squandered, he will never be able to make a breakthrough again. Do you want to regard a lifelong soul master as your opponent? Don't put your mind on him. You are a twin martial soul. If nothing happens, you will definitely become a titled Douluo in the future. Your opponent should be the young man in this continent. The geniuses are those titled Douluo who have already become famous. Tang San nodded heavily. Yes, how could he value so much a guy who could only be a soul master for the rest of his life? That guy is not worthy of being his opponent at all. The gap between them will become wider and wider. At that time, Xiao Wu will only rely more and more on her brother instead of Cheng Xiao. For a moment, Tang San was in a good mood, and the depression that Cheng Xiao had brought to him was gone. I understand, teacher. Time flies, and another 2 years pass by in a blink of an eye. Cheng Xiao broke through to the 17th level. Because the first soul ring was a skip level absorption, after absorbing the soul ring, his soul power directly reached the 12th level. In the past 2 years, he has raised a total of 5 levels. At this time, Tang San and Xiao Wu were already at level 27, and they had only improved by 5 levels. It seems that the gap has not widened, but Cheng Xiao knows very well that the training difficulty of a great soul master is much higher than that of the soul master stage. Tang San and the two rose to almost 7 levels in the soul master stage in 2 years. This is a first mover advantage. Uniformly accelerating movement will inevitably lag behind uniform speed movement that maintains a high speed. It is impossible for underachievers to surpass the top academics who have always been number one after studying for 2 years. Conventional methods cannot erase the first mover advantage, so you must think of some strange tricks. It seems that we must go to the Ice and Fire Eyes first. The opportunity there cannot be given to Tang San. Cheng Xiao planned to put the fairy grass on the agenda. After all, this was his best chance to overtake in a corner. It's just that now that the Ice and Fire Eyes are occupied by Poison Douluo, he is weak and not strong enough to negotiate terms with others. After pondering for more than half a month, Cheng Xiao still didn't have much clue, and the summer vacation for 5th grade had arrived. Shower, you are familiar with these things in the store over the years. This summer vacation, come with me to visit the purchasing channels. Cheng Xiao's uncle, Cheng Yu, said. The Cheng family provides whale oil to the nobles. Whale oil is smokeless and fragrant. It has always been sought after by all nobles. Even the royal family regards whale oil as an urgent need. The Cheng family has always had a stable market and has no worries about being unable to sell. Therefore, the Cheng family is not considered a noble family, but it is still considered a wealthy family in Notting City. Cheng's father used to take care of Cheng Xiao, but after his father passed away a few years ago, his uncle took over the family business and took Cheng Xiao with him. Okay, uncle. Cheng Xiao nodded. His innate soul power was obvious to all. Although he was now a soul master, his family did not expect him to be successful in this path. They planned to let Cheng Xiao take over the family business when he became an adult. After his father passed away, his mother had always had expectations for him. In order to live up to her mother's expectations, Cheng Xiao chose to spend the summer vacation helping the family with the business. Titled Douluo and the road to becoming a god are things that will happen in the future. People should focus on their feet. No one can counterattack by dreaming every day. You have to remember the route along the way. You will be needed to run in the future. Also, you have to pay attention. Along the way, Uncle Cheng Yu taught Cheng Xiao almost everything he had to say. After 10 days of trekking, the purchasing team finally arrived at a small seaside town, Whale Hunting City. As soon as we entered the small town, the bustling scene hit us, and the noisy sounds of trading and hawking filled our ears, showing the prosperity of this city. Whale Hunting City is famous for its whale oil. Almost half of all the whale oil in the entire continent comes from here. Whale oil is produced from June to August every year. During this time of year, almost all whale oil merchants from the mainland come here. Buying whale oil here is not a bustling experience. Let's go, we don't buy in the city. We have a dedicated Orion partner, so there is no need to buy second-hand goods here. After arranging a hotel for the team, Cheng Yu took Cheng Xiao away from the team members. The route is not the most important thing. Yes, this cooperative hunter is the basis for our family's survival, and we must not let others follow us. After walking for nearly 20 miles and climbing over a mountain, it was almost dark before the two of them arrived at a village. Bang bang. Cheng Yu came to a house and knocked on the door. Who? Lao Lu, I am Cheng Yu. Ha ha ha, I knew it was you. I figured it would be just a few days. If I don't come, I'm afraid you won't be able to make the first dish. With a creak, the door opened. The person who opened the door was a tanned man. After seeing Cheng Yu, he immediately gave Cheng Yu a big hug, and then they started talking. This is this. After greeting Cheng Yu, Lao Lu looked at the young man behind Cheng Yu with doubts on his face. This is my eldest brother's son. He will take over the family business when he reaches adulthood. I will take him here for a trip today. Cheng Yu introduced the two of them to each other. LV Han, the hunter who cooperates with our family, I bought all the whale oil from him. His name is Uncle Lu. Uncle Lu. Hey, okay, this guy is good. With his body and bones, it looks like he will be a tough guy when he grows up, ha ha ha. Lu Han welcomed the two of them into the house. Daughter-in-law, make 2 plates of food and drinks. Second Cheng is here. Stay with us today and I'll have a good drink with him. At the wine table, Cheng Xiao gradually understood the status of this village. This village is called Moon Village, and there is Moon Bay nearby. This village has mastered the technology of luring and hunting magic whales a long time ago, and has always cooperated in a village manner, which is extremely cohesive. It's not so much a village as a loose sect formed around this secret technique. This village holds a whale hunting conference from June to August every year, and a grand bonfire banquet is held in the evening. The hunted magic whales are boiled into whale oil, which is distributed to the villagers and hunters according to the village's internal ranking and contribution system. Then Orion sells it at a high price. Hunters with a good reputation will have long-term buyers with exclusivity. For some with a poor reputation, some people will try to cooperate at first, but over time they will be abandoned by the buyers, and they can only go to the whale hunting city to sell and deceive some people who don't know how to do it. No wonder my uncle said he couldn't bring anyone here. It turns out he was afraid of being pried away to cooperate. Cheng Xiao muttered as he watched the two of them exchange cups. It wasn't until late at night that the two of them got drunk and ended the meal. 3 days later, the whale hunting meeting began. Cheng Xiao saw this spectacular sight for the first time. Dozens of large ships went out to sea together. The sailors shouted and set sail, tearing through the waves and sailing into the sea. Cheng Xiao and Cheng Yu boarded a ship with Lu Han to personally experience the intensity and passion of the conference. Lao Lu, can this time have the same volume as last year? How can we be sure? Our secret technique is only to lure and hunt, and we can't predict. It's not about how many magic whales can come to this sea this year. After 10 days of sailing, the fleet finally reached a piece of sea. Early that morning, Cheng Xiao was awakened by a whistle. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and came to the deck. The scene in front of him was shocking. Got to him. I saw all the soul masters on the fleet standing on the deck, releasing their martial souls in unison. All of them were sea soul beast martial souls. These sea soul masters were at least soul masters, and the strongest ones had reached soul emperor level. Cheng Xiao saw Lao Lu, and to his surprise, this dark man with a simple and honest face turned out to be a soul master. It's true that people can't be judged by their appearance. Cheng Xiao clicked his tongue. They were mumbling words, as if they were emitting some kind of melody, and the melody resonated. Soon, they attracted a group of demon whales. The group of demon whales seemed to be possessed, swimming around the fleet, and spraying out a stream from time to time. The water column soaring into the sky reflects the colorful light under the sunlight. The fleet began its return journey, luring the demonic whales to follow the fleet until they returned to Moon Bay. Only then did the sea spirit masters show their fangs, drive the whales into Moon Bay, and then start killing mercilessly. The villagers used the secret skills they had mastered to kill. These gray-eyed demon whales had no resistance at all. This was simply a massacre. One-sided massacre. Countless soul rings rise, most of them are purple soul rings, and a few black soul rings will appear here and there. The water of Moon Bay is as red as the bride's hijab, extremely colorful. The smell of blood rushed to the sky. Even if the sea water continued to wash away, it was difficult to wash away the smell of blood on the cliffs of Moon Bay. Seeing this scene, even Cheng Xiao's hard-hearted heart couldn't help but feel emotional. Don't think too much. These gray-eyed demon whales are the best at giving birth. They can give birth to a large group every year. Cheng Yu patted his nephew on the shoulder and consoled him. Chang Xiao shook his head and said with a smile, "Uncle, I look down on me too much. Although I can't bear it, if they hadn't mastered the secret technique, they would have become the rations of the gray-eyed demon whale. The weak will eat the strong, and in the Soul Master world it's just an iron rule, I'm not that fragile." Ha ha ha, that's good. Yes, the weak eat the strong. Chang Xiao once again had a new understanding of the world. He thought of Xiao Wu. She was also a spirit beast. In just a moment, his heart became as hard as iron again. The night at the seaside is slightly different. The sky is dotted with stars and the moon is like a crooked hook. But tonight it seems to have a little blood color. There were bonfires lit in Moon Bay, and the villagers danced their village's unique dance around the bonfires. The hot and beautiful young lady pulled Chang Xiao into the crowd. Chang Xiao was a little embarrassed at first, but soon she was infected by the joyful atmosphere. She held hands with the young ladies and started dancing awkwardly. What makes Chang Xiao a little troubled is that these young ladies always like to touch him all over his body, and their whole body is covered. How could Chang Xiao be a coward? It's rude to come back but not reciprocate. Amidst the laughter, Chang Xiao tasted the rouge of her sisters. But Chang Xiao was quite melancholy. Seeing the sisters leaving with satisfaction, she couldn't figure out who suffered the loss. Seeing this, Lu Han whispered a few words into Cheng Yu's ear. "Ah, what did you say?" The banquet was so noisy that Cheng Yu couldn't hear clearly, so he raised his glass and asked loudly. "Let me tell you, your nephew is quite popular. Maybe your share will increase this year." Ha ha ha, life is not easy, life is not easy. Cheng Yu laughed heartily, clinking glasses and drinking down the wine. Chang Xiao sighed. After getting tired of playing, Chang Xiao withdrew and wandered around casually. When he saw someone cutting up the body of the demon whale, he started to take a look. The butchers are very skilled with the knife. Every knife is like an art, so exquisite that it is jaw-dropping. If it is too deep, it is too much, and if it is shallow, it is too little. Not to mention, it's quite stress-relieving, not much worse than trimming a donkey hoofs. The magic whale meat is continuously fed into the cauldron on the bonfire to boil the whale oil, exuding a fascinating fragrance, which adds a bit of beauty to the bonfire party. Chang Xiao was mesmerized by the sight of the demon whale corpses one after another without feeling bored at all. I don't know how long it took, but suddenly, Chang Xiao saw the butcher cutting open the head of the demon whale. This was not surprising. They seemed to do this for every corpse. However, this time the butcher's movements made Chang Xiao's pupils shrink. The butcher put his hand into the demon whale's head, took out a golden crystal, and threw it directly into the pile of debris. Whale glue. It's actually whale glue. Wait, just throw it away like that. Chang Xiao was stunned. That thing. The butcher glanced at the golden crystal thrown out. That thing is a lump that grows on the head of the magic whale. It is of no use and cannot be used in the pot. When Chang Xiao heard this, his breathing couldn't help but stagnate. A lump of no use. That's whale glue. Whale glue that is enough to increase the Soul Master's soul ring absorption life by 1 level. Just throw it away. But Chang Xiao soon realized that whale glue was an item mentioned 10,000 years later in the original work. In this era, almost everyone rigidly believes that the absorption of soul rings has a maximum number of years. Only a few people believe that the number of years of absorption is related to the quality of the martial soul, the strength of the body and the power of the soul. However, this view is not mainstream and is not accepted, recognized by the public. In this cognitive environment, no one thinks that there are items that can increase the absorption period of a soul ring. Could it be that the efficacy of whale glue was discovered in the next 10,000 years? Or was it studied on the Sun-Moon continent and only became known to the people of Douluo continent after the collision of the Earth's crust? Thinking of this, Chang Xiao couldn't restrain his excitement. This is whale glue. After 10,000 years, there will be no soul master who does not want this thing. Taking 2 deep breaths and pretending to be calm, Chang Xiao pointed to the golden whale glue and said, "Can you give it to me? I'm quite curious about this thing. I can buy it. Hey, just pay me. If you want it, just take it. This thing is just garbage. How can I charge you for it?" The butcher waved his hand and didn't care. The people present today are all buyers who have good relations with the village. If people know that he sold garbage to them, it will affect his reputation. He will not do such a thing. He still has a bright future. there is no need to join in the trouble with those guys hanging out in whale hunting city. He held the golden whale gum in his hand and gently stroked it with his fingers. The surface was quite smooth. When he pressed the button hard, it turned out to be as hard as a stone. Returning to Lu Han and his uncle, Cheng Xiao still felt that it was a bit unreal. He actually got the whale glue that would make the soul masters salivate 10,000 years later without spending a penny. Why are you holding this thing? Lu Han looked disgusted when he saw the whale glue in Cheng Xiao's hand. What is this? Cheng Yu was drunk and his eyes were hazy, and he couldn't speak clearly. This thing grew out of the brains of some sick magic whales. It has a great impact on the quality of the whale oil. Before entering the cauldron, it must be removed, otherwise this thing will destroy the entire cauldron of whale oil, even the cauldron. The furnace must be scrapped, otherwise this batch of whale oil will be thrown away. Lu Han said while burping from wine. Hearing this, Cheng Xiao was moved in his heart and asked, "Are these a lot of things?" "It's not too much. I can only produce 1 or 2 in a batch. Sometimes there is not even 1 in a batch. But you are not afraid of 10,000, just in case. When boiling whale oil, you are afraid of accidentally getting mixed into this thing. The whale oil that comes out the oil would stink and smoke, and it wouldn't be sold at all." Cheng Xiao calculated the round-trip time with his fingers, which meant that there would be at most 3 batches a year. Doesn't that mean that 6 pieces of whale gum can be produced at most in a year? This is the time to get rich. Hiss. It's a bit incredible. But then I thought about it. Moon Bay controls half of the whale oil in the entire Douluo continent. It is not unusual to produce up to 6 pieces. After all, when you are unlucky, you can't produce 1 piece for several years in a row. Oh, no, for the villagers, it should be considered lucky that they did not burn out the whale oil. Strange, is this his arsenic and my honey? What about the ones that were released before? Cheng Xiao wanted to collect more. Either it will be thrown back into the sea with the remains of the magic whale, or it will be thrown to the children in the village to play with, who knows? Lu Han didn't care. Cheng Xiao's mouth twitched. What a waste. Uncle Lu, I like this thing. It's golden and quite beautiful. Cheng Xiao played with whale glue and said with a smile, "You don't know, I like collecting strange rocks the most. This thing is just like a stone. It's hard, I want to keep it and play with it. How about this, you help me keep an eye on it every year. I want to collect it and treasure it. Of course, I won't let you work in vain, uncle, don't you think so?" Cheng Xiao poked Cheng Yu with his elbow. Cheng Yu took care of his family's business in an orderly manner, and his emotional intelligence was naturally high. He noticed something was wrong as early as the beginning. Does his nephew like to collect strange rocks? Why didn't he know? It sounded like that, and those who didn't know it would have thought he was a young man with special hobbies. My nephew even asked me to cooperate. This thing must be extraordinary. Cheng Yu understood immediately and immediately put his arms around Lu Han's neck. Old Lu, this is the future talker of our Cheng family, so you should have some snacks. Don't you like drinking? Every year I come here and bring you a pot of Palace Yuya, hiccup, delicious. Tomorrow we 2 brothers are going to whale hunting city. I heard that a good batch of goods has arrived. Hee, we have been going crazy at sea for more than 20 days. Hearing Cheng Yu's words, Lu Han's eyes immediately lit up and he agreed. Don't worry, I will go and ask early tomorrow morning to see if this year's batch has been released yet. The first batch of whale oil was released, and the buyers returned with full loads. Barrels of whale oil were shipped from whale hunting city. However, this was only the first batch, and there were 2 more batches to follow. Cheng Yu led the first team to prepare to leave, while Cheng Xiao was waiting here to prevent others from intercepting the second team. Although there is a contract, there is no guarantee that the money will not move people's hearts. Tell me, what is that thing? Before leaving, Cheng Yu put his arms around his nephew's neck, took him aside, and asked quietly. That thing is called whale glue, and it's used by soul masters for training. Cheng Xiao didn't say much, just mentioned it briefly. That's it. Cheng Yu raised his eyebrows. Cheng Xiao was helpless. Otherwise, what else can we do? It's not that I don't want to reveal it to my uncle, it's just that secrets always spread from the first person's mouth. As long as the second person knows the secret, it will be a matter of time before it spreads. The secret of whale glue can be said to be subversive to the soul master. If this news leaks out, whale glue will definitely become a hot commodity. The Wuhan Palace, the upper 3 sects, the lower 4 sects, the 2 great empires and other forces will definitely monopolize the whale gum channels, and their family is not yet able to hold on to this cornucopia. If the uncle is obsessed with things, he might even bring disaster to the family. Therefore, after weighing it, Cheng Xiao decided to keep the secret of whale glue a secret. Wait until he becomes a titled Douluo and has the ability to resist. Okay, Cheng Yu was bored. Cheng Xiao watched his uncle gradually disappear from sight. He touched the 2 pieces of whale glue on his hand. After that day, Lu Han asked about it and got him 2 more pieces, one of which was from the village. A child collected it. It has lost its golden luster and is darker in color. It has a tendency to turn black. It is not known whether it is approaching the 10,000-year-old whale gum. If you're lucky, you might be able to get a few pieces during the next 2 trips to sea. If you are unlucky, it doesn't matter, 3 yuan is enough. Originally, according to his estimate, the endurance range of his first soul ring was probably more than 100 years. By analogy, his second soul ring should be in his early 900 years. Considering that Tai Chi is still constantly replenishing the innate ability of his body. Unfortunately, take risks, 1,000 years is the limit. He has been hesitating whether the second soul ring should absorb the 1,000-year soul ring. After all, the age of the soul beast cannot be calculated accurately. It would be too dangerous to absorb the 1,000-year soul ring. His limit has just reached 1,000 years, and it is difficult to find soul beasts stuck in the early millennium. If there is a slight discrepancy, it may put his life in danger. And these 3 pieces of whale glue came just in time. Whale glue is a special substance produced in the brains of soul beast whales. After taking it, it can enhance the endurance of muscles, bones and meridians, and improve the physique of soul masters. A piece of 1,000-year-old whale glue is enough to increase the upper limit of soul rings that a soul master can bear by 500 years. The 3 pieces are all 1,000-year-old whale glue. Although they cannot be stacked rigidly, and there will definitely be a certain loss of efficacy after repeated use, this piece has been transformed into black. Even if it is greatly reduced, it can be improved by about 1,500 years. In this way, once it comes, my choice range will be very large, ranging from 2,000 to 2,500 years, without any danger. Cheng Xiao recalled the overview of whale gum deep in his memory. Cheng Xiao came to the blacksmith shop and found the blacksmith to build a quenching boiler. This boiler was enough for forging, and presumably it should be enough to soften whale glue. A few days later, a boiler was erected in a scrawled stone house next to Moon Bay. Cheng Xiao looked at the flames igniting in the boiler, and a smile appeared on his red cheeks. He placed 3 pieces of whale glue on the prepared steel fork, and then put it into the boiler for quenching. He always paid attention to the changes in the whale glue. Every time, he would poke the whale glue with a steel rod to see if it softened. Time slipped away quietly, and with the scorching fire, a strange fragrance came out from the boiler. The fragrance was condensed and lingering, making Cheng Xiao couldn't help but swallow his saliva. That's it. The temperature in the boiler was very high, and it didn't take long for the whale glue to be softened by the fire. Cheng Xiao took it out immediately. Hiss! I couldn't wait to tear off the whale glue, but I accidentally got a blister, which made Cheng Xiao gasp in pain. Grass! Cheng Xiao cursed secretly, blew and fanned, and when the whale glue was cool enough to touch with his hands, he tore off small pieces bit by bit and put them in his mouth. The fishy smell of whale gum was so strong that Cheng Xiao almost vomited as soon as he took it into his mouth. But thinking of the preciousness of this thing, Cheng Xiao endured nausea and swallowed it. The heat flowed into his abdomen, and a hot and comforting feeling warmed from his stomach to his heart, and a faint aroma came out. Worried about the hardening of the whale gum, Cheng Xiao tore the remaining whale gum into small pieces like falling leaves in the strong wind, quickly put them into his mouth, and quickly swallowed all 3 pieces of whale gum. As the 3 pieces of whale gum were digested, it seemed as if a hot stream of heat flowed from the abdomen to the limbs. Cheng Xiao began to become a little hot, his energy and blood surged, and his face turned red like a cooked lobster. He scratched his neck and body uneasily, feeling that there were countless ants crawling all over his body. Is that so? The corners of Cheng Xiao's mouth couldn't help but twitch. He knew that whale gum was a great tonic for yang and strength, but he didn't expect it to be so tonic. Fortunately, I only had 3 pieces of 1,000 years whale gum instead of the 10,000 years gluten that Huo Yuhao took, so I wouldn't be as confused as Huo Yuhao and couldn't wait to vent on women. He can still maintain a clear mind now, but the hot feeling is really hard to suppress. Billowing heat surged through the body, and Cheng Xiao felt that the temperature of his body continued to rise. His whole body was wet with sweat, and he felt as if he had been fished out of water. This can't go on like this. Seeing that there was no relief, Cheng Xiao turned around and rushed out of the house, ran towards the seaside not far away, and plunged into the sea. The seawater temporarily relieved the discomfort caused by the high temperature, but it still failed to change the fundamental problem. At this moment, Cheng Xiao's body was like a kettle without a mouth, and the water kept boiling in the kettle with nowhere to vent. We must guide the power of the medicine in our body, we can't go on like this. Cheng Xiao calmed down a little and immediately thought of a way to start Tai Chi in the shallows. Along with the Tai Chi moves, the uncontrolled heat flow in the body began to rush along Cheng Xiao's revised Tai Chi operation route, all the way towards the Ren and Du second meridian. Boom! The heat flow was like an irresistible giant beast, directly and violently breaking through the difficult Ren and Du meridians, surging along the meridians, and suddenly, an indescribable feeling of pleasure spread throughout the body. Well, Cheng Xiao groaned, and after a burst of crackling sounds from the joints all over his body, he once again entered the state of selflessness and formlessness, after 2 years. He was wielding his fists selflessly, and every move was like Zhang Lingyu's show. In this state, the movement route that was not perfect at first was gradually corrected without Cheng Xiao's consciousness, and he continued to move towards the most perfect and most suitable Tai Chi route evolution. Boom! In an instant, there was a loud sound like thunder in the body, the obscure and difficult to understand Ren and Du meridians were opened, and Cheng Xiao's soul power also broke through at this moment. The Tao of Tai Chi is profound and profound. Cheng Xiao is just a mediocre person. How could he possibly sum up the real Tai Chi luck method just by relying on so-called controlled experiments? Cheng Xiao spent several years and modified the Tai Chi luck method based on the meditation method summarized by Yu Shaogang, which is only the limit of what human beings can do. It may be able to achieve a very good effect in conjunction with Tai Chi moves, but it is not the most perfect. But it's different now. Selflessness and formlessness is a rather mysterious state, which is similar to Buddhist meditation. In this state, Cheng Xiao abandoned all distracting thoughts and only focused on Tai Chi. Without the interference of distracting thoughts, the soul power flows through the most perfect route almost by instinct, perfecting the incomplete luck method. Over the years, Cheng Xiao has never neglected physical exercise. His already strong body, the most perfect Tai Chi, and the powerful medicinal power of whale gum have directly helped Cheng Xiao open up the Ren and Du meridians. This series of changes caused the soul power holding capacity of Jing Luo in Cheng Xiao's body to suddenly increase. At this moment, the soul power directly broke through to level 18. Crash! The soul power turned into 2 streams, one strong and one soft, flowing through Cheng Xiao's body along with Cheng Xiao's fist movements. Under the pull of these 2 completely different soul powers, the sea water that could cover the calf began to swirl around Cheng Xiao, forming a wonderful scene. The rich medicinal power of whale gum is still huge, nourishing Cheng Xiao's limbs and bones, directly making up for all Cheng Xiao's innate losses, and his mental power also begins to increase quietly, and even part of the medicinal power begins to flow into the martial spirit. Cheng Xiao's innate disadvantage was finally made up for at this moment. From then on, he stood on the same starting line as Tang San Xiaowu and those who were gifted with soul power. However, what Cheng Xiao didn't expect was that the growth of his mental power and physical body had reached the limit, and the remaining medicinal power was rushing towards Wuhan. The martial souls of the 2 kings were originally in an extremely delicate state of balance. Under the collision of this medicinal power, the balance was instantly broken. The ball formed by the power of shadow was attacked by the internal destructive power, and the external medicinal power actually began to show signs of collapse. Boom! With a muffled sound, Cheng Xiao was suddenly shaken and escaped from the state of selflessness and formlessness. An indescribable pain burst out from the depths of his soul. What's going on? Cheng Xiao's eyes instantly turned red, and his fingers dug into the sea sand. The violent intention of destruction spread in his heart, making him unable to help but destroy everything. Fine scales began to climb up from the fingertips, and his arms seemed to be wearing a layer of dragon scale armor, which was very ferocious. This is the power of the King of Destruction. Martial spirit is liberated. Grass. Why is it this time? The power of the King of Destruction was so violent that even though he had strengthened his body for 5 years, he never thought he could withstand its power. In his plan, at least he had to wait until he had taken the fairy grasp, reached the contra level, and had at least 3 soul bones plus an external soul bone before he dared to try to liberate it. He even secretly planned the 8 spider spears for this purpose, waiting for that day to come. But despite all the calculations, I never expected that by chance, this matter was actually brought forward. The dark and cold shadow power was vented crazily, dyeing the surrounding sea water ink, and the power of destruction kept colliding with his meridians and consciousness, giving him the urge to violently destroy, wishing to destroy everything in front of him. No, we can't go on like this. The cracks on the shadow light ball continue to expand, and destructive power leaks from the cracks, pouring out continuously. If the King of Destruction is completely liberated, his body will probably be overwhelmed by this violent force. How to do. But in desperation, Cheng Xiao couldn't think of any good way to solve the problem of martial soul conflict. This situation was really too rare. Cheng Xiao doesn't have an old man like Electrolux who can help him solve all problems. He can only rely on his own wisdom to find solutions bit by bit. Time passed by bit, and Cheng Xiao was so anxious that he was sweating. However, the two forces did not give him much time. It didn't take long for Cheng Xiao's consciousness to become blurry. Tai Chi is divided into yin and yang, which combines hardness and softness. The combination of yin and yang creates all things. In his confusion, an ethereal voice suddenly sounded deep in Cheng Xiao's mind. That was the supreme principle of Tai Chi. Cheng Xiao suddenly opened his eyes, his already weak will suddenly became firm, and he regained his consciousness. Tai Chi is not limited to tricks, nor is it a method of luck, but the change of yin and yang, one yin and one yang, one soft and one hard, the two are combined to create ever-changing. Cheng Xiao sat cross-legged in the sea water, mobilizing 2 completely opposite forces raging in his body. At the beginning, it was extremely difficult to mobilize the 2 forces, as if they were 2 huge rocks. But as Cheng Xiao gritted his teeth and persisted, the 2 powers were gradually shaken. Under Cheng Xiao's control, under the cracked shadow light ball, it began to rotate according to the Tai Chi diagram pattern, draining away the leaked power. Shadow is yin, destruction is yang. The faster the Tai Chi diagram rotates, the more the 2 forces will be involved as soon as they leak out, making it impossible to destroy Cheng Xiao's body. I don't know how long it took, but the rotation of the Tai Chi array gradually stopped, and the cracks in the shadow ball no longer expanded. The power of shadow and destruction once again reached a delicate balance. No, it's the balance of the yin-yang diagram, the Shadow King, and the Destruction King. The balance between shadow and destruction has long been broken, and unless a third force intervenes, it will be impossible to regain a balanced state. And Tai Chi formation serves as this third party. The Tai Chi formation acts as a buffer zone. Every once in a while, the cracks will lengthen a little, and some power will leak out from the cracks from time to time, but the excess power of both will be absorbed by the Tai Chi array, preventing it from leaking out and destroying his body. What is this? Preliminary liberation. Semi-liberation. Cheng Xiao couldn't help but muttered after feeling the state of Wuhan. With a thought, he mobilized the yin fish in the Tai Chi formation, and billowing ink flowed out from the yin fish. A black shadow appeared behind him, wearing armor, majestic and quiet. The Shadow King. The changes didn't stop there. Cheng Xiao took back the Shadow King and activated the yang fish of Tai Chi diagram again. In an instant, a ferocious light dragon shadow appeared behind him, with a terrifying aura of destruction lingering all over his body. The moment the light dragon appeared, he felt pain all over his body like Ling Kai, and the aura of destruction continued to destroy the meridians throughout his body. The King of Destruction. Through the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, he was finally able to mobilize the true power of the 2 kings, instead of just condensing the power of shadow into his eyes as before. In other words, from today on, he can be called a true twin martial spirit. Are they true twin martial souls? Cheng Xiao frowned. Although he had been able to initially use the 2 martial arts, Cheng Xiao did not feel happy. Because the imbalance between the two martial spirits was irreversible, the Tai Chi array only acted as a buffer zone between the martial spirits and his body, preventing his body from being overwhelmed instantly. However, the cracks in the shadow light ball are still increasing, and destructive power pours out from it from time to time, and the speed will gradually increase. Sooner or later, both forces will be fully liberated, and Tai Chi formation will no longer be able to act as a buffer. This is no different from the countdown to life. How can Cheng Xiao be happy? Fortunately, the initial liberation of the two martial spirits is not all bad news. The soul power has broken through. Cheng Xiao felt the changes brought about by the liberation of the soul, and found that his soul power broke through 2 levels in a row, reaching level 20. As long as he obtains a soul ring, he can become a great soul master. And, feel, Cheng Xiao's eyes couldn't help but fluctuate. As soon as his mind moved, he could feel the shadows within 100 meters radius. This was the shadow realm. At the same time, a soul curse emerged from his mind. Stand up. When the soul curse emerged, even with Cheng Xiao's concentration, his heart couldn't help but hit his chest twice, and even his breathing stopped for a moment. The soul curse only has 3 words, but it is the ability that Cheng Xiao has been thinking about since he awakened his martial soul. The effect of the field is very simple. After Cheng Xiao recites the soul curse, he can extract the shadow of the deceased within the range covered by the field. The shadow will obey Cheng Xiao's orders unconditionally. The shadow extracted by him will be greatly reduced in strength compared to the deceased's life, but the shadow is immortal and can be reshaped immediately by consuming a certain amount of soul power. But currently, he can only store 20 shadows, 1 carrot and 1 pit. Sure enough, Cheng Xiao sighed. He didn't want to become fat in one bite, otherwise he would go to the border of the 2 empires of Xingluo and Tiando today, and tomorrow he would be able to pull out an army of shadows and directly subvert the 2 empires. Phew, what a beautiful thought. The problem of martial soul conflict has not been solved yet, so I just keep daydreaming. Cheng Xiao cursed himself twice, and then thought about the next plan. In other words, we have to be careful. Now that the Wuhan has been initially liberated, it is natural that we cannot follow the original plan. First you have to get a soul ring, and then you need to screen out at least 15 shadows and leave 5 empty slots for emergencies. With 15 shadow guards, he can be considered to have some ability to protect himself. Although not as good as having a father with a title Douluo. Extracting soul beasts or soul masters. Cheng Xiao was a little hesitant. The Shadow King is also known as the King of the Undead. His methods are not much different from those of the Necromancer. If he kills more people, he might be targeted by the Spirit Hall. It seems that for the time being, we can only make plans for soul beasts. What did you say? Level 20. Cheng Yu looked in disbelief. He knew that his nephew's innate soul power was only at level 1. If there was no chance in this life, it would be great if he could break through level 20 in his middle age. But now his nephew told him that he had exceeded level 20. Well, we just made a breakthrough a few days ago. Cheng Xiao nodded. Cheng Yu was slightly startled after receiving his nephew's affirmation. He was not a soul master, but he knew some of the criteria for judging a soul master's talent. If he broke through level 30 and became a soul master before the age of 20, his future would be limitless. Level 20 at 11 years old. The 11-year-old great soul master. This would be considered genius anywhere. When you graduate, there will be countless intermediate soul master academies rushing to send invitations. In 9 years, the possibility of breaking through level 30 is very high. And after breaking through level 30, as long as they work hard, they might be able to win a title. Even the lowest baron, the Cheng family can jump from commoners to nobles. After becoming a noble, the proportion of the market that can be captured will also expand. Those civilian businessmen will never dare to have a dispute with their family. You brat, you're really going to give me a hard time. Cheng Yu's face was gloomy and he frowned tightly. If my nephew can't practice cultivation, then everything will be easy. He can just go home and inherit the family business after graduation. But now his nephew's ability is far beyond that of ordinary people, which puts him in a bit of a dilemma. What is support? Still not supported. For a while, Cheng Yu didn't dare to make a decision easily. Cheng Xiao knew his uncle's concerns, so he didn't say anything. Instead, he kept silent and let his uncle think more. He knew very well that the cost of supporting a soul master was not small, and it would be difficult for an ordinary family to support an excellent soul master. It takes a lot of determination to get his family to fully support him. Not to mention anything else, hunting soul rings is a difficult problem for some families to solve. Regardless of the fact that the participating students in the Soul Master competition are all equipped with the best soul rings, who can participate in the competition is not a genius in each academy. In fact, for most low-level soul masters, the first and fifth soul rings are not the optimal soul ring configuration. The first soul ring was because poor families couldn't afford to hire powerful soul masters to hunt century-old soul beasts, so they had to settle for the next best thing and choose 10 years. The dangers of a 10-year soul beast and a century-old soul beast are not at the same level, and the cost of hiring a soul master is naturally different. Look at the Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City. There are countless students. The first ring is just a white ring. You really are a teacher running a charity. If you don't give me money, who will risk your life to help you hunt the 400-year-old spirit beast? At most, the college's fees are much cheaper than outside, but don't expect people to work for free. As for the fifth ring, it is extremely difficult to determine the age of a soul beast. A 100-year soul beast will only have distinctive features every 100 years, a 1,000-year soul beast will undergo a major change every 1,000 years, and a 10,000-year soul beast will have one obvious feature only every 10,000 years. The optimal age of the fifth ring is 10,000 years to 1.20000 years. The selection range is too small. Soul beasts with 10,000 years of age have to find out the difference of thousands of years from them. If you are a little careless, you will make mistakes. If it is higher, your life will be in danger. If it is lower, the optimal soul ring configuration will be dropped. Those big sects and families with good foundations naturally don't have to worry. They have the support of their elders and the sect's foundation and detailed information. They almost all hunt soul beasts according to the optimal soul ring configuration. But many free soul masters, without the help of their elders, can only hunt on their own, and it is easy to miss them in these two stages. Therefore, if ordinary people with no background want to raise their children to be better, they must spend a lot of money, and it is not an exaggeration to even go bankrupt. Well, it would be easy to say that you are useless. You are neither good nor bad, which is worrying. Cheng Yu smiled bitterly. Obviously your innate soul power is only at the first level, how come you can practice so fast? It was surprising that my nephew broke through level 20 at the age of 11, but his martial spirit was a mutated martial spirit. His innate soul power was only one level, and his future was full of uncertainty. No one knows whether he will be stuck at level 29 and unable to break through for the rest of his life. I heard that the Notting City Junior Soul Master Academy where my nephew studied had such a teacher. If his family fully supports him but he is stuck at level 29 and cannot break through, wouldn't it mean that all his money has been wasted? Cheng Yu touched his forehead, sighed, and then asked, "You are only at level 20, so hunting 600 to 700 years is enough, right? Why do you want to kill 2,000 or 3,000-year-old soul beasts? It's just a 100-year-old soul beast, but the Cheng family can still afford it. But 2,000 to 3,000 years of soul beasts, this is almost the configuration of the soul sect. If the family supports Cheng Xiao, it will have to break their bones. No, it must be more than 2,000 years. And at least 7. Cheng Xiao shook his head. That's not enough. I originally wanted 15. Ouch. Cheng Yu was shocked when he heard this. Are you crazy? Do you know how many gold soul coins this costs? 2,000 to 3,000-year-old soul beasts are enough to raise 7 soul sects. And 15 more, you think your home is a marquee mansion. The optimal age of the fourth ring is between 1,700 and 5,000 years. Although 2,000 or 3,000 years does not reach the limit, it is not bad as the fourth ring of the civilian soul sect. If a soul master is hired, only the soul sect team can hunt a 3,000-year-old soul beast with safety and security, and the commission is a very astonishing figure. As soon as my nephew opened his mouth, there were 7, which would cost him everything. Some marquis and nobles only have a dozen soul masters in their families. The Cheng family is just a small wealthy family on the border. How did they get such great power? That's not how full support works. Impossible, absolutely not. Cheng Yu no longer hesitated, his head moved like a rattle, and he firmly refused. Chang Xiao pondered for a long time, and finally decided to drag out the whole matter, otherwise it would be difficult to get the family's approval and invest all the money in him. It's not that he hasn't thought of other ways, but without exception, he rejected them all. The dean of the college is only a 40-level soul master, and the other teachers are only great soul masters or soul masters. Even forming a team is extremely risky. His talent has not yet reached the point where the academy is desperate, and if he requests more than one, the dean will never agree to it as long as he is clear in his mind. As for tricking Tang San Xiaowu like the first soul ring, just think about it, there is no need to give the soul beast a meal. After much thought, Chang Xiao could only bring his idea to his family, and only his family had any hope of helping him. Uncle, do you still remember those 3 pieces of whale glue? It was those 3 pieces of whale glue that allowed me to break through to level 20. Whale glue can enhance the endurance of muscles, bones and meridians, and improve the physique of a soul master. Chang Xiao looked sincerely and explained. After taking whale gum, the number of years a soul master can absorb soul rings can be increased. I estimate that my limit has reached 2,000 to 3,000 years, but it needs careful testing to determine the true upper limit, so that's how many are needed. Chang Yu's eyes shook violently, and he immediately sat upright and asked seriously, increase the soul ring absorption period. Are you sure? If true, this news is enough to shock the entire continent. Really, I once got a broken ancient scroll, and it was recorded on it. Chang Xiao nodded. I didn't take it to heart at first, but after seeing whale gum last time, I decided to give it a try. I gave it a try, but I didn't expect that I would break through to level 20. Whale gum is definitely a rare treasure. When Chang Yu heard this, his breathing immediately became heavy and his face turned red. If whale glue can really increase the upper limit of soul ring absorption, if their family can take advantage of the current situation to buy whale glue in large quantities and monopolize it. Seeing Chang Yu's reaction, Chang Xiao sighed to himself. He knew it would be like this. He didn't tell his uncle last time because he was afraid that he would be obsessed with his own interests and be blinded by his interests. Uncle, this is beyond our control. We don't have the power to monopolize him. If others know this secret, our family will most likely suffer disaster. One sentence poured cold water on Chang Yu. The excited Chang Yu shuddered and suddenly woke up. Yes, if whale glue has such miraculous effects, as long as they sell one, the news will spread to every corner of the mainland instantly. By then, countless forces will covet them. How big is their family? Can you win over other princes, nobles, big sects and big families? The Chang family is nothing in their eyes. Then why don't we sell this news to Wuhan Palace? Chang Yu suggested. Since we can't keep it, then sell the news. If others eat meat, they can at least drink some soup. This idea is understandable. Chang Yu is a businessman, and his first idea is how to use this secret to earn a large amount of gold soul coins. Uncle, do you think Wuhandian will kill people to keep this secret as their own? Chang Xiao shook his head. Chang Yu's expression froze, and then he frowned and thought, no way. Wuhan Palace is not so vicious, right? They are much better than those sect families. The reputation of the Wuhan Palace among the common people is much better than that of the great nobles and sects. In their eyes, the Wuhan Palace is the representative of justice and the incarnation of an angel. This is an image that Wuhan Palace has spent thousands or even tens of thousands of years building. Chang Yu is not exempt from vulgarity. But Chang Xiao has no filter in his eyes. To put it bluntly, Wuhan Palace is just a soul master force, no different from the 2 major empires and the 3 major sects. It's just that the character is better established. Whale glue is something that can quickly widen the gap between the younger generation. Any force will try every means to completely control it in its own hands, and Wuhan Palace is no exception. As long as the Cheng family exists, it will become a factor of uncertainty, because the Cheng family is very likely to sell out 2 items. How could Wuhan Palace let them go? After telling Cheng Yu this truth, Cheng Xiao emphasized again, Uncle, don't try to hand over your life to others. You will die, unless we have the strength to keep this secret, or save the lives of our family, otherwise, this secret cannot be revealed to the outside world at all. When Cheng Yu heard this, his face turned pale, and his lips trembled for a long time before he smiled bitterly and uttered a few weak words. Strength, ha, how much strength do you need to keep it? Title Douluo. At least a title Douluo. Cheng Xiao looked serious. Only a titled Douluo can save the lives of a family. At least, titled Douluo. Cheng Yu couldn't laugh or cry. Do you want to listen to what nonsense you are talking about? There are only a few titled Douluo on the mainland. If you want to get the protection of titled Douluo, you are not just dreaming. Cheng Xiao was silent, but looked at Cheng Yu firmly. He would not brag about anything to make Cheng Yu believe that he could become a titled Douluo union. When a 3-year-old child says that he must become a titled Douluo, adults may laugh it off and comment on the childish words. But if a teenage soul master talks about titled Douluo, anyone who hears it will roll their eyes and mock him for not overestimating his abilities. Cheng Yu understood his nephew's attitude from Cheng Xiao's eyes and sighed softly. It seems that this secret will either be buried with him or it can only be used on you. Cheng Xiao nodded. So, let's give up the idea of making money from whale gum. Without an opportunity to get rich suddenly, Cheng Yu felt so heartbroken that it was difficult to breathe. But 7 is too many. After giving up his unnecessary desire, Cheng Yu returned to the topic. Even if the family squeezes out all the liquidity, it will only be enough for you to kill 3. If you want 7, then you have to sell off the property and borrow money. It is absolutely impossible for other people in the family to agree, and neither will your mother. The Cheng family is limited to just 2 of them. The entire whale oil business is jointly controlled by several branches with similar blood relatives. This is the prototype of the family. If the Cheng family can have a few more soul masters, it can quickly grow into a smaller soul master family with it as the center and the funds earned from whale oil. Make a fist in one hand and a money bag in the other. Use the fist of your left hand to protect the money bag in your right hand, and use the money bag in your right hand to support your left fist. Many sects and families are like this. The Cheng family is ambitious, but unfortunately, the bloodline of the Cheng family is not very impressive and has never given birth to any qualified descendants. Cheng Xiao is the first child with innate soul power, but it is only at the first level of innateness, far from being able to let's take the family to the next level. Now the family is asked to do everything they can to support Cheng Xiao. It is impossible even if you think about it. Who would invest resources in a child with first-class congenital talent and an uncertain future? What if he is stuck at level 29 for the rest of his life? What about the family? Drink the northwest wind. At that time, we really went back to before liberation overnight. The entire clan had to move out of Notting City. Like those villagers, they might not be able to turn over for the rest of their lives. Who could have the determination to bet on a long-shot possibility? Even Cheng Xiao's mother didn't dare to go against the big guy's wishes and bet on Cheng Xiao. The two fell into silence, and for a while, the room was eerily quiet. After a long time, Cheng Xiao sighed and could only reveal some more information to reassure those at home. I am a twin martial spirit. You don't even have 3 lives. What did you say? Cheng Yu waved his hand, but was suddenly stuck in midair, looking at Cheng Xiao in shock. My martial spirit mutated, so I couldn't awaken the second martial spirit when I was in the Soul Palace. But after eating whale gum, I awakened the second martial spirit. Cheng Xiao blamed everything on the effect of whale gum. Crash! Cheng Yu suddenly stood up. His movement was so big that he almost overturned the table. The items on the table were swept to the ground, and the fragile items were even smashed directly. Cheng Yu didn't care at all, and just looked at Cheng Xiao with a burning gaze. Watched. Show me. Cheng Yu's voice was trembling. Twin martial souls. If they are twin martial souls, then the Cheng family has the possibility to move to the next level. Any bullshit level 1 innateness or bullshit talent can be ignored. If you have twin martial souls, you can practice to level 40 if you take the lead. The 2 martial souls have 8 skills, which are stronger than some ordinary soul emperors. If there are enough resources, it is not impossible to become a level 60 soul emperor. This strength is enough to benefit the entire family. How could Cheng Yu not be excited? Based on Cheng Yu's knowledge, the most he dared to hope for was a soul emperor. He couldn't even think of a higher soul Douluo or titled Douluo. Even so, it was enough for Cheng Yu to take a gamble. Cheng Xiao activated his soul power, the yin fish ink surged out, and the shadow of the Shadow King appeared behind him. Immediately, Cheng Xiao's mind moved, Yang Yu woke up, and the violent destructive power condensed into a violent light dragon shadow, replacing the Shadow King. The moment the light dragon appeared, Cheng Xiao's body felt a sharp pain. In just a moment, Cheng Xiao was sweating profusely. These are my two martial arts spirits. One is Shadow, and the other is Dragon Emperor. Cheng Xiao took back the King of Destruction, and then he felt a little more relaxed and panted. It's really twin martial souls. Cheng Yu sat back down calmly, his eyes lost focus, and he seemed to be stupid. He pursed his lips, but it was silent. Cheng Xiao waited quietly for him to digest the news. He knew very well how shocking the twin martial spirits were to an ordinary person, so he did not disturb Cheng Yu too much. Whoosh! Suddenly, Cheng Yu stood up and paced back and forth in the room excitedly, muttering like a man in a daze, "Twin martial spirits, twin martial spirits." Clatter! Cheng Yu stopped and turned to look at Cheng Xiao, his eyes fiery but sharp. "I can help you operate and convince your mother and others. But you must agree to 3 conditions. Tell me about it." Cheng Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. "First, I will advise other people to fully support you, and all the family assets will be loaned out, but it is only enough for this time, and my family will no longer be able to help you in the future. So you have to figure out your own way in the future." Quote. Okay. Cheng Xiao nodded. He knew the scale of his family's assets. To do this was to squeeze out the last drop of oil and water, and it was impossible to give him more support. Secondly, when you go back this time, you don't need to go to Notting City Junior Soul Master Academy and directly apply for graduation. I will work for you and let you enter Yuexuan. You must get to know the children of big shots as soon as possible. Obtain asylum and provide financial support to the family, otherwise if competitors discover the problem with our capital chain, the whole family will be destroyed. Cheng Yu looked solemn. There is no room for compromise on this condition, otherwise you will not be able to pass the test of others. Okay. Cheng Xiao had no objection. Since he had accepted the financial support from his family, he had to bear the corresponding responsibilities. There is no free lunch in this world, and rights and obligations are equal. It is impossible for him to eat what is at home and not care about the life and death of his family. And he also has some ideas. It seems that Princess Shuike, the daughter of Emperor Shui, is in Yuexuan. Is there anything more delicious than soft rice? Third, before the age of 20, participate in the Soul Master competition, win the first and second place, and be named a noble. Let other people in the family see the return on investment. According to past experiences in Soul Master competitions, the champion and runner-up will be valued by the 2 empires and the Spirit Hall. If they choose to be loyal, they will definitely receive a title and become a noble. Only by becoming a noble can the family have the capital to settle down and live. In the future, when Cheng Xiao breaks through the Soul Emperor, their Cheng family will be reborn. Cheng Xiao was dumbfounded. He really didn't expect that his uncle's vision would still be so low even after his twin martial souls were exposed. Even if any titled Douluo knew about the twin martial souls, they would be willing to accept them as disciples. Is a mere title comparable to the title of a titled Douluo disciple? If he hadn't been planning other opportunities and joining a certain force would have been too restrictive for him, he would have wanted to reveal that he would go to the Spirit Hall to become Bibi Dong's disciple. Look at the conditions that the Haoshan sect put forward for Tang San. That's what it means to have a high vision, and to have both soul rings and soul bones alive. But I can't blame my uncle. After all, you can't expect an ordinary person with a useless martial soul to know much about the world of soul masters. He may know that the twin martial souls are valuable, but he doesn't know how valuable they are. It is a level that he has never dared to imagine in his life. Can you give me a sweet word? Cheng Yu urged. No problem. Cheng Xiao was helpless and didn't bother to explain. Okay, I'll start helping you operate this time when I get back. Cheng Yu took a deep breath and smiled. Our Cheng family is finally going to rise. The whale hunting conference is over, and the last batch of whale oil has been shipped out of Whale Hunting City. The last 2 batches failed to produce a piece of whale glue, which made Cheng Xiao feel quite regretful. But it only took a while for Cheng Xiao to adjust his mentality. 3 pieces of whale glue increased the upper limit of his soul ring by 1,500 years, which was enough. Any more would be too greedy. After Cheng Xiao showed his talent, there were still some voices of opposition in his family. They were worried that if Cheng Xiao was killed by a spirit beast before he grew up, wouldn't all the investment be in vain? Fortunately, Cheng Yu was the mediator and persuaded the rest of the family to risk all their money on Cheng Xiao. The Cheng family quietly mortgaged their property through various means, loaned back a large sum of gold soul coins, and together with most of the family's working capital, finally invited a team of soul sects. The highest level of this team is 47, and the lowest is 42, with all 4 systems including control, power attack, agility and auxiliary. In terms of configuration, it is not a bad team. My name is Dai Chong, the captain of this team, the 47th level War Soul Sect. A sturdy man stepped forward and introduced. I am. Everyone was introduced one by one. After Cheng Xiao got to know everyone, Cheng Xiao introduced himself. Everyone, my name is Cheng Xiao. My mission this time is to help me complete an academy inspection. I need you to hunt down various types of souls. Beasts, 7 in total. Cheng Xiao disguised this mission as a theoretical research study of the academy. In order to obtain the admission notice of the Advanced Soul Master Academy, Cheng Xiao needed a resume that was beautiful enough, so he hired this soul sect team. This reason makes sense. Not all students in the Advanced Soul Master Academy are soul masters who are full of muscles. There are also students who are dedicated to theory, but these students are more discriminated against and not welcomed. Just like Tiando Royal Academy, except for the talented students who can compete for the first and second teams of Tiando, most of them are not very good. Some are admitted by virtue of their noble status, and some are recruited by the academy based on their excellent theoretical performance. If the academy only needs to fight soul masters, is it still necessary to exist? It would be more appropriate to change the name to Zongmin. Dai Chong and others only thought that the students in front of them were not very talented in cultivation and wanted to pursue theoretical research, so they were specially recruited by the Advanced Soul Master Academy. They did not doubt it. According to the mission requirements, you don't have to worry about saving the last breath of the soul beast. You only need to kill the soul beast as soon as possible. But after killing it, you must retreat from the guard and let me collect its blood and other operations. You are not allowed to watch. Cheng Xiao's purpose is not to absorb the soul ring, but to obtain the shadow of the soul beast, so he doesn't care about the ownership of the soul ring. After he obtains enough shadows, he can try to hunt the soul beasts by himself without having to rely on the help of others. No problem. It's just that according to the requirements on this sheet, there are at least 7 soul beasts that are 2,000 to 3,000 years old, and the types of soul beasts are also specified. The price is quite high. I wonder if you are ready. Dai Chong dusted off the things in his hands. Task list, but looked at Cheng Yu behind Cheng Xiao. Cheng Yu took out a purple card and placed it on the table in front of everyone. 50% of the mission reward, and the remaining 50% will be distributed to you through the Wuhan Palace Commission office after the completion. The moment they saw the purple card, Dai Chong and others' eyes began to light up, and they put the card away without any hesitation. When will we set off? Today. Cheng Xiao didn't plan to delay any longer and wanted to set off immediately. Dai Chong and others looked at each other and nodded in agreement. We have no problem. Immediately, everyone made preparations, and then the 7-person soul sect team took Cheng Xiao and prepared to set off. Be careful. Before leaving, Cheng Yu's face was solemn, and he couldn't see any relief. He knew the danger of a soul master. He might go out standing upright today and come back sideways tomorrow. The 8 people set off and looked at the figure that gradually disappeared from sight. Cheng Yu's eyes gradually lost focus and his lips pursed. After a while, a slight voice came out. Hope everything goes well. The night was filled with stars. Outside the quiet star forest, 8 people gathered around a bonfire and talked about the arrangements for tomorrow. The first soul beast. The Vajra tiger. After hearing Cheng Xiao's goal, Dai Chong couldn't help but take a breath and grinned. Brother, it's really hard to earn this soul coin. The Vajra tiger is considered the overlord among the soul beasts, and its strength, attack power, and defense are also ranked among the soul beasts. What's more, what Cheng Xiao is asking for is a 2,000-year-old Vajra tiger. Even their team is careless. There may be casualties next time. Hey, otherwise how could I spend so much money to treat you? Cheng Xiao said with a smile. Dai Chong scratched his itchy scalp. Tisk, it's hard to do. What, are you going to give up this commission? Cheng Xiao raised his eyebrows. That's not true. The Vajra tiger likes to live alone, and its whereabouts are difficult to determine. It is not easy to find it. Vice Captain Yang Lai explained. We mercenaries do have some rough activity area maps of the spirit beasts. If you want to hunting the Vajra tiger requires a long time of preparation. The danger will be greatly increased. Generally speaking, most of the people who obtain soul rings start directly when they encounter a soul beast of the right age and with the right attributes. It is rare to directly specify a soul beast, which will consume a lot of time. And staying in the Stardew forest for a long time will greatly increase the risk. Large sects generally don't worry about these problems. If they are led by elders above Soul Douluo, they don't have to worry too much even if they stay in the Stardew forest for a month or two, unless they encounter a 100,000-year soul beast. Then again, how many 100,000-year soul beasts are there in the Stardew forest? Where is it so easy to meet? If you really encounter it, you can only consider yourself unlucky. And they were just a soul sect team, obviously they didn't have the confidence to wander around the Stardew forest for a long time. That's it. Cheng Xiao pondered for a long time, but it seemed that he couldn't do this, so he changed his mind. I have these goals. You can consider how to make them faster and more convenient. So, Cheng Xiao told them his choice ideas. The first one's attack power must be strong enough, at least to be worthy of the title. The second one's defense power must be high enough. The third one's speed must be fast enough, and its damage cannot be too low. The fourth one's must be strong in all aspects. Balanced enough. Cheng Xiao's choice covers attack, defense, speed, endurance, control, etc. Even if the Shadow Soul Beast team formed in this way is weaker than before, it can still defeat stronger enemies or soul beasts with perfect enough cooperation. If you really can't defeat the enemy, you can rely on his soul power supply to infinitely resurrect and consume the opponent to death. Under the dark night, Cheng Xiao's clear eyes shone with an indescribable light. His shadow team was finally taking shape. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.